What's going on, everybody? This is your former AEW World Heavyweight Champion. Once a champion, always a champion. Swerve Strickland. Whose house? Swerve's house. You're watching Tru Heel Heat podcast.
Yo, what up? You know what it is. It's your boy AJ Francis reporting to you live from New York City, the birthplace of hip-hop. And I'm telling you that I'm only tuned in with Tru Heel Heat Wrestling. Holla at me.
Alright, hello, Tru Heel Heat. I'm the AEW World Champion MJF. Just in case you're deaf, dumb, blind, stupid, or since you listen to this podcast, or you're listening to Tru Heel Heat, and I apologize for that.
What's up, Tru Heel Heat? Tru Heel Heat.
What's up? Tru Heel Heat.
All right. So Malik over here, he wants me to apologize. You know, I woke up early on a Sunday morning and I was feeling pretty crabby. And I got on the Tru Heel Heat YouTube channel and I said some mean things to somebody in the live chat. And, you know, it had nothing to do with their morally corrupt opinions on pro wrestling or blood money. It was just I was feeling kind of crabby. You know, I was like in my over 30 years old, so everything I do, I said or tweeted with intent, but I apologize for that, you know? It's not about sports washing. It's about me feeling mean one day and saying some things that I apologize. So for the people of the THH live chat, I apologize. But I don't apologize for the fact it's Sunday. And you know what that means? It does not mean that we got a pay-per-view review. No. It's time for the flagship podcast where we will be discussing CM Punk apologizing to Saudi Arabia and yesterday's WWE Night of Champions PLE with Punk and Cena reigniting their feud, Seth Rollins screwing over CM Punk, Cody Rhodes and Jade Cargill crowned King and Queen of the Ring, and finally, after months and months of me putting his picture on a milk carton, posting his picture on telephone poles, our dear, sweet Hikuleo, THH alumni, the Tru Heel Heat interview streak continues, as I've interviewed someone who then eventually signed with WWE and then eventually debuted with WWE a full year later, but he is a part of the new bloodline. So we'll discuss everything that went down there and everything across the wrestling world, because in AEW, we got the build to All In Texas, some plans for All In Texas that were diverted or postponed due to somebody not wanting to do a reunion with Cope. I wonder why. Checked out that John Moxley feud, I guess. And also in AEW world, MJF is crossing the line, not to TNA, but to MLW. Back in MLW this week, we'll talk about Major League Wrestling Summer of the Beast. We'll talk about some CMLL on the show today. It's me and the Tru Josh, and we got a lot to discuss. This is the Tru Heel Heat flagship podcast, and I apologize for that. Hello. It is me, your Tru Heel Phenom, SP3. We are live on the Tru Heel Heat YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter for Tru Heel Heat 335. Sorry for 2025. Discussing the latest wrestling news, including CM Punk's apology to Saudi Arabia, a recap of this week in wrestling with WWE Night of Champions yesterday, featuring Seth Rollins screwing over CM Punk in his undisputed WWE Championship match against John Cena. We'll also be discussing SmackDown featuring Punk becoming the doctor of Thuganomics, versus Cena. We'll talk about Raw on Netflix this week, which featured King of the Ring and Queen of the Ring semifinals. NXT featuring Jordan Grace advancing to Evolution. We got some AEW Collision and Dynamite from this past week, as Collision last Saturday had Timeless Tony Storm's warning to Mercedes Moné. Dynamite had John Moxley and the Young Bucks laying out Hangman Adam Page. Thursday Night Collision featuring the Battle of the Kyles. We got ROH Global Wars, CMLL to discuss, MLW with MJF's return, New Japan Pro Wrestling Soul Tour, which had the first G1 Climax 35 play-in matches, as well as Death Pain Invitational with Despy and Kasai, and Tanahashi Jam this morning, which was not televised for all of us around the world, only in Japan, which had Zack Sabre Jr. ending the Goto Revolution, which I'm very sad about, as you can tell by the change of voice. And TNA IMPACT, plus much, much more. And of course, to do all of that, I am joined by my esteemed colleague, the True Draw himself, Josh. How are you feeling?
I want to say that that apology. It was nice to see that you grew up, at your age, and I'm very proud of you for that, for that apology. I just wanted to say that.
I'm growing. I'm always trying to grow as a person and an individual. You live and you learn, and you're just happy for your place in life, or whatever the hell Triple H decided to say on the post. Yeah, this man can't, even when he's not doing a press conference with the media, he always says some shit that always gets criticized because it's never the right thing to say.
And you know what it is, man. You know what it is. Punk he's a 47-year-old man. Like, we got to stop treating this man like he's a fucking child. Like, he should just know better at this point. So even if you're like, oh, the apology wasn't that good. And I'll get into why it wasn't that good. I'll deep dive, because I know there was a lot of people who were giving him credit. They were like, oh, he handled that great. No, there's a reason why I have my criticisms to it. Like, when we get to it, you hear why. And I want to see that, because there's a lot of people who agree with how I feel about it.
We shall see. We shall see, because we got a lot to discuss on today's show. We appreciate y'all for joining us live. Appreciate y'all if you're watching us on demand. Either way, show your appreciation back the simplest way possible. You can drop the thumbs up on this video. You can share this video with all your wrestling fans, friends, and family on all your favorite social media platforms. If you are new to the Tru Heel Heat YouTube channel, hit that subscribe button. Hit the bell to stay notified for all the great content here. We're here every weekend with the Tru Heel Heat flagship podcast, talking about a full week of pro wrestling around the world, whether it be WWE, AEW, New Japan Pro Wrestling, TNA, MLW, CMLL, as we'll talk on today's show about all those places. So this is the best place to join us if you want to hear everything going on throughout the wrestling world. We cover it here on the flagship, usually on Saturdays, but sometimes we gotta do a Sunday edition because WWE changes its schedule. So we are here on Sunday today, and appreciate y'all for joining us live for that, and appreciate you for watching us on demand. If you are on demand, comment down below. Let us know what you thought about this week in pro wrestling. Who was your best, worst, and moment and matches of the week? What do you think about CM Punk's apology to Saudi Arabia and everything else? And of course, if you're joining us live, sound off in the live chat. We love to interact with all of you guys. Hear your thoughts on this week in pro wrestling. And of course, if you're feeling generous, you want to give back to what we do here, you want to show your support to the Tru Heel Heat flagship podcast and what we do every Saturday or Sunday, covering everything going on in the pro wrestling world, you can do so with a super chat donation. That is the best way to have your comment highlighted on screen. If you got something to say and want your thoughts read out, you can send a super chat donation. If you just want to give back to what we do here, show your support to the Tru Heel Heat YouTube channel and the flagship, as well as the contributors that you see on screen with us here. A super chat donation is the best way to do that. It goes a long way to help the channel grow and move forward, and we always appreciate the support. We got a bunch of people already in the chat with us today. Sydney Lane Carter, my namesake, says, my birthday is yesterday. Happy belated birthday to you. Happy birthday to one of our former contributors, Marcus Cash, whose birthday was yesterday. One of our loyal people in the chat, and my good brother, G. Loke. Happy birthday to him as well. His birthday is today, so if he shows up in the live chat, show him some love. Send him a happy birthday wish. We got Vala, who says Titles needs to mention the shock title change on New Japan. Don't worry. I told Josh before we went live here, Vala, I was like, I had to change the agenda to add Tanahashi Jam, which I really, it's the thing with the agenda for Tru Heel Heat flagship podcast. Not everybody needs to watch everything we're going to mention in the agenda. I just have to, because I'm kind of like the quarterback here of going where we need to talk about. I usually only will put in something if I actually watched it. That's why we'll be talking about Fantastica Mania Mexico from last Friday on today's show, because I didn't watch it before last week's show. I'll mention it this way. I did watch Stardom The Conversion last week, and that's why we mentioned it on last week's show, but I needed to rewatch one of the matches. So spoiler alert, you'll probably hear one of the matches in my matches of the week. Big spoiler alert there. I rewatched one of the matches there, and I had to give it more praise, so that's why it'll be in my matches of the week. But I did not watch Tanahashi Jam because it's not available on New Japan World. It's only available on TV Asani in Japan. So I was hitting up people that said they saw it. I'm like, how did you see this? Like, there's no way. All my sites that I usually use to pirate stuff, it wasn't available there. But I already got the title change, and I don't even know if I want to watch the show now, because I was like, why? The Goto Revolution was going so well. He became the greatest IWGP World Heavyweight Champion of all time. I loved Zack Sabre Jr. Zack Sabre Jr. winning the G1, becoming IWGP World Heavyweight Champion was one of the best things about 2024. I have the exact opposite feeling about him beating Goto here.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of crazy though, like how, wrestling could be a beautiful thing, sometimes it could be a bad thing. And when Zack Sabre Jr. won last year, it was a big deal because he's never been in that position, and it was something that he kind of really deserved because he's been there for so long. So it was kind of rewarding. But then now, a year later, it's just like, why did he win? It has nothing to do with him. It's the booking, so I can't really put it on him. But you see, like the feeling, like that's insane. Where it's like everyone goes from "you deserve it" to "why is this happening now?" Why? Because Goto's run was so great. He was having a great one when he was always kind of in the same position as Zack Sabre Jr., where somebody who was always maybe close. They never really put the thing on him. They never put the company on his back. And then when they finally did, he basically, I think he outperformed himself in a way, like the run, like, nobody expected this. And it's unfortunate the way it ended. And especially when it's not televised and, if you're only in Japan, you go watch. It's kind of just one of those. It kind of feels like a house show. Somebody losing a world title in a house show. You know what I mean? That's what it feels like.
And we've seen it before, but yeah, it just felt very weird with New Japan doing that. Blood Money to answer you. He says, "Where's Tala Tonga? He's injured. He's injured." I feel like I've had to answer this a lot because some people don't know it, but yeah, he's legitimately injured. That's why he showed up. I think Romeo asked the same question during the watch along yesterday. I was like, yeah, Tala Tonga got injured in April. Tonga Loa got injured last November. So yes, it does make sense. It does make sense that Tonga Loa comes back before Tala Tonga. He's injured.
Yeah, and it was that you were talking about like 8 months. Like that was like what, 8 months of recovery, 8 months. He tore his, what was it, tricep or some shit? Like he tore something, a major muscle. So the time frame added up. Like it, he came back the time that he was basically due. It does feel like you've been answering this. It's like, guys, he's injured. If he's not on TV, that means he's injured. Like you're not gonna put Tangaloa before Tama. So I mean that should tell you something on TV.
We got Dion Jenkins, who's ex-Invala, but I'll answer it as well. He says, "I don't watch NJPW. Do you think ZSJ winning the title has anything to do with Forbidden Door being in London?" It 100% has to do with that. That's the honest and most obvious question, most obvious answer to that question. It didn't need ZSJ to be IWGP World Heavyweight Champion because, like Valab said here, he says that show has already close to selling out without a card announced. So why do you need ZSJ to be the champion then?
Yeah, it's close to selling out. So it's like one of those things where him being champion is not going to matter because he's going to be over no matter what, because he's in his home country. So even that alone is kind of like, why did you switch? Why did you do that just for that? It was a situation where there were like maybe like 50% capacity. I could understand. But if you're close to a sellout, you're close to a sellout. You're there. Once like the first 2-3 matches get announced, that's a sellout. So, I mean, even in regards to that, it's like it definitely has to do with that, but it's just the logic that is like you guys were going to sell out no matter what. That kid need to be champion for that show.
We got Vala who says the apology. He's been a member for 2 years. Thank you so much, Vala, for all the support you always give us here. He says the apology was not as loud as the disrespect. 2 years. Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
I think Jimmy Macaram put it best, though. This whole CM Punk versus John Cena feud has been a slow deconstruction of who we believed CM Punk and Phil Brooks was. That's what he told me in our private chat with one another. And I was like, that's the most accurate description of this whole CM Punk John Cena feud. Because it's not the right time to do it. You should have done it heading into Money in the Bank. Thus, you had to make his moral compass of not going to Saudi Arabia or being against it, what people thought he was against. You had to basically go in the face of that, make it a part of the story. Then you had Cena do the pipe bomb, which was a great kind of 180, 360 type of thing, where now he's the yang to Punk's yin. But then you had Punk with that Thuganomics Punk life. It just felt very tone deaf, very against everything that CM Punk is plus the rap wasn't good. So all in all, I did not like that go home segment. Spoiler alert for when we talk about SmackDown. And yeah, the whole feud and the whole build, it's had good moments, and I know there's a lot of people that's been very positive about the build, but I don't think it's helped who CM Punk is. I feel like all in all, it's proven John Cena right. Prophetic words that he said when he called CM Punk Mr. TKO.
Yeah, and I think on a different level for a lot of fans, what I've been seeing myself is that, somebody who's been a very open CM Punk fan, I've been very critical, and I think my criticisms have been pretty valid, right? Because I've always given credit when he has a great match. I'll give him credit when he has a great promo. I'll give him credit. But it's just the moral compass of everything of what this guy once represented. Now he's kind of going against that. Well, not kind of. He is going against that because it's just a complete 180 of an individual where the reason why we loved him, that's not who he is anymore. And I understand when people get older, people get wiser, right? Shit changes. But I think that comes naturally, right? It comes like in a natural aspect of things, right? So for me, him leaving, going back to WWE, just it wasn't natural. Why? Because we know why he went back, right? We know why he did that, right? So the way he comes off, it's just one of those things where it's just like, he could be fooling a lot of people. He's not fooling somebody like me. I'm not falling for the shit that he tries to say or whatever the case may be. Why? Because he's gone so much against what he says and his beliefs. And it's just like, how can I fuck with that? Like, what I mean? Like on a personal level, like, how can I fuck with that? Because it's just like, again, you're somebody who's so big on your morals, and now almost all your morals are gone. Like you cut your balls off, and now that shit is gone.
Yeah, and this is a good way to describe it as well. Volop says they broke him into what they want him to be. He's now just a guy. There's no more blurred lines. CM Punk is just a character that Phil Brooks plays. Yeah, it's very much that. Like, it's no longer like CM Punk. The pipe bomb was so revolutionary, and so much of this kind of a rallying cry for disgruntled WWE fans because he blurred his real life feelings with the narrative being played out on screen. And people believed that CM Punk was CM Punk, that Phil Brooks and CM Punk were one and the same, and that they blurred that so well that he became this anti-hero that was on the level to a lot of fans of like Stone Cold Steve Austin in the Attitude Era, where Stone Cold got that connection with the fans because Stone Cold Steve Austin and Steve Williams were one and the same. It was just Steve Williams turned up to 100, he became Stone Cold Steve Austin. Phil Brooks turned up to 100, he became CM Punk. Now he is not that. They've kind of disconnected that and haven't made that one to a lot of us fans, including myself and you.
No, it's true. And again, it's, again, like I've said before, it's one of those things where, like, you understand when people, you get older, right? They change, right? So in that aspect, I always try to look at it that way. But then it's like when we know, somebody like me and like why he went back to WWE, it kind of just comes off like it's one of those weird feelings where it's just like it's not natural. Like it just comes off fake, and it comes off fake because, again, you were just fired from the other company and you were having bad attitudes. So you're telling me within what 2-3 months after you got fired, all of a sudden you're a changed man? Get the fuck out of here with that. And that's why I'm like, for me, somebody like me, it's like, I don't know. It's just, it's different. It's a different feeling.
Well, to be fair, I feel like we saw like the making of CM Punk going back to WWE as he was being critical of AEW because he, like I said last week when we were talking about Cena's pipe bomb, that I wish Cena would have said this, but it is actually true that CM Punk left WWE because of how it was run and who was running it. It was not just who was running it, it was how it was run. Then he went to AEW, an alternative to that, who did not run it the same way, and he got mad because they did not run it the same way.
Yo, no, it's just it's like, bro, what do you want? Right? It's just I don't know. And again, when it comes to his AEW run, there are things I do defend him on, but there's also things I'm critical on where I'm just like, bro, you want to talk about your growing up, then there's a form of accountability that you have to take. Like, you have to take responsibility for the things that you're responsible for. Like the whole, not only just Brawl Out, but it's like how Brawl Out started. You went on the press conference, you shit on your EVPs, you brought up Cole Cabana. That's what he did was very unprofessional. And it's like, bro, like, you got to take accountability for that. To this day, he's never taken accountability. Why? Because he's so busy harboring on to Hangman Page. Well, Hangman Page wasn't even that bad. But it's like, why are you holding on to that? And, and it's crazy because Hangman Page to this day has not brought up CM Punk. Has not mentioned CM Punk, has not used CM Punk at any kind of capacity, even when he's even doing interviews, whatever the case may be. So it was like, bro, at this point, you got to let it fucking go. Like, it was a promo. A lot of his promos were shoot promos anyway. So it was like...
And you already got your lick back for the Hangman Adam Page stuff when you did the promo when you came back from injury.
Yeah, you called him a cowboy bitch.
Yeah,
you called him cowboy bitch and everything. So I'm like... For somebody who likes to talk shit, but it's like, bro, you're obviously bothered. And to this day, you're still bothered because even when he was in WWE, even in being in WWE, there's been times where he's bringing up Hangman. He's mentioning certain things. He's mentioning like move sets. And it's just like, yeah, this man don't say nothing to you. Hangman been minding his business. And now he's about to get the main event at their biggest show of the year. And it's just like, you guys, like, it's over with. Like, just move on. But that's the shit I'm talking about when it comes to Punk, where it's just like, bro, like, you're still bitter. You're still upset about AEW because every time AEW gets, you find every way to downplay them. You find every way to come at them. And it's just like, so when people try to say that, oh, he's grown up, no, he fucking hasn't. It's like, again, he's putting on a mask. If he's fooling y'all, good. He's fooling y'all. He ain't fooling me.
Yeah, I agree with Dion here. It says, I never understood why he got so triggered over that promo. It must have been something deeper than that because right now, to a lot of people, he's proven Hangman right. I think it is deeper than that. I think that Hangman did see the truth about CM Punk even when he was in AEW. And I think he's exposing himself to the entire world more and more with stuff like the apology and stuff like that. But we'll get into all of that. First up, we got to shout out our Tru Heel Roll Call, our top 3 conversation starters, our Tru Heel Trinity. Over on our Facebook group page, you got Joe Bellini, Vegas Bad Boys of Podcasting, and Stewie John Palmer. Our Patreon backers, you got Volup, our good brother here in the chat. We got the Negro Buck, Nick Jackson. We got Professor Chris, Trey, Robert, Steve, Ladarius, John Martin, Dolores, James, Alan, Santo, and Justin Rich. Thank you so much for supporting us over at patreon.com/Tru Heel Heat. $3 a month gets you exclusive content. The best place to support us when we are not live here. But let's get into what we missed. And of course, Josh, we got to start off with WWE Night of Champions from yesterday. WWE Night of Champions, the show featured John Cena defeating CM Punk in an entertaining main event to retain the undisputed WWE Championship with an assist from Seth freaking Rollins and the Braun Stars, who tried to cash in before being stopped by both men. This led to Penta and Sami Zayn coming out and interfering. It led to Cena and Punk actually working together during one portion of this matchup before eventually Cena went for the low blow on Punk. Punk caught him, goes for the go to sleep. Seth comes in with the Money in the Bank briefcase, blasts CM Punk, stomps his head in. Cena gets rid of of Seth and then pins Punk to retain the title in what was a very Attitude Era-esque plus greatest hits mixed of bombastic sports entertainment in the show closer. We'll talk more about that shortly here. But the show also featured the American Nightmare Cody Rhodes beating Randy Orton in a very good opener to the show to win the King of the Ring finals. Meanwhile, you had in this match, you had Randy Orton, who was teasing going heel, as well as Cody kind of playing a subtle heel at the beginning of this matchup. So both men kind of leaned heel during the course of the matchup that had a crazy electric atmosphere. Meanwhile, you had Jade Cargill picking up the win over Asuka to win the Queen of the Ring finals. Jade being dressed as Storm and picking up the biggest singles win of her WWE career. Rhea Ripley, though, had a much better showing than that Queen of the Ring final. More on that in a bit. She beat Raquel Rodriguez in what was a very fun street fight. Then you had Sami Zayn secured a victory over Karrion Kross to finally settle the score between the two men, as Kross lost in his first singles match on a pre-LE in 3 years. Solo Sikoa, though, may have been the biggest winner of the night, as he was the first man to defeat Jacob Fatu in singles competition to win the United States Championship, thanks to interference from JC Mateo, the returning Tongaloa, and the debuting Hikuleo, now known as Tala Tonga. You see, because there's Tama Tonga, there's Tongaloa, and he is Tala than all of them. So he is Tala Tonga.
Yeah.
I see the vision. Josh, you were not able to join us on the review yesterday. What did you think about yesterday's PLE WWE Night of Champions 2025?
Yeah, so I didn't watch it live. I watched it after I got home. I thought the show was okay. Like, it wasn't terrible in my opinion. Fun opener, Cody and Randy. I just wish that would have had like a decent build up. I don't think, somebody winning a match and then it's like, oh, this is going to be the finals. I don't think that was enough for a caliber of what Cody and Randy is. But overall, I thought the matchup was fun. Randy leaned into being heel towards the end because of the turnbuckle stuff, and that cost him. So that's going to be interesting to see how that goes forward, what they do with that. Besides that, the street fight, I thought it was better than I thought it would be, just because I'm like, oh, do I want to watch Raquel Rodriguez? Not really. But they had a good matchup. The finishing spot, I thought it was like kind of like with the table, because it was just like, well, you didn't need to. You could have just put it through the table with the riptide from the top rope. But that's just my opinion on that. But it was a fun matchup. Regards to like the Queen of the Ring, I didn't like the match very much.
It was the worst match on the show, and the shortest match.
Yeah. I mean, that's the best. I mean, I'm trying to be generous just because I didn't like the match. Jade, obviously I had Jade Cargill winning just because of the whole rumors of, a push. But I don't know. I just didn't like her performance. It's kind of more the same with her. And it's kind of just, I think it's getting to a point where it's like not only frustrating, but I think I've been accepted of, all right, this is probably where we're going to get of Jade going forward. It just feels like she's digressed. It's not really fun to watch. And that finish too was just so flat. Like, the crowd was dead. Even when she had the announcement, when she won, nobody was into it. And I was kind of just like, damn, obviously that kind of sucks, because that's something I would have want. But the fact the crowd just wasn't really into it, it was just like, damn, fuck, that sucks. Then you had Karrion Kross and Sami Zayn. The match was okay. It's Karrion Kross match. When was the last time he wrestled? When was the last time he took bumps? right? People want to talk about bumps, right? When was the last time he took bumps? He took 6 of them. Wow, right, in that match.
He took
right?
six. Let's go. Proving all the haters wrong. Let's go, Carrion. My Puerto Rican brother.
I mean, hey, people think he beat the. I mean, he ain't beat shit. He got to average that or more for the rest of his career if he wants to beat that, because that's something that's been ongoing. It's not a WWE thing. Just to make it clear, if people don't know, it's something I've heard for a long time. So it's not just a WWE thing. But I thought the match was okay. I thought they didn't get enough time, in my opinion. I think that's what more it was. They didn't get enough time, but it was fine. It was a fine little matchup in the middle of the card. That's what, you can't really ask for too much. Jacob and Solo, I thought that was a pretty fun matchup. And then obviously, then the interference, Tonga Loa coming back, and then Hikuleo finally showing up. I thought the name change was pretty stupid, because it's like you're confusing your audience. You confuse Michael Cole. Michael Cole
I was about to say that.
Loa. Michael Cole called him Tonga Loa, and then when he realized he fumbled twice. And then he said, their brother. Like he fumbled 3 times. And I was just like, oh my God, like, just fucking you should have just kept his name. But I get it, trademark, copyright, I get it. But it's just like, come on, like you confused not only your audience, but you confused your commentator. He didn't know what the fuck he was saying, and I had to tell Wendy. Wendy was like, "No, he's," and then I had to rewind it back, and I was like, "No, listen to what he says." He says, "Oh my God, it's Tonga Loa. What? Tama Tonga, their brother." And I was like, "Oh my God, he fucked up so bad." I was like, "Damn."
He tried his hardest to not say Hikuleo. He just tried his hardest.
And but besides that, you did call the title win. You did say Solo would win. So that was a good catch on that. As far as Jacob
it was too early to do that matchup, so it only made sense if Solo was winning.
Yeah, and then I think 70 days for Jacob to have the title. I mean, it is what it is.
No, you're wrong, sir. 69.
69. That's crazy. Oh no, because on TV it says 70. Like on the screen, it said.
I think it is 69. No, I think it is.
Yeah, I think they had 70 on purpose, just because I think they didn't want to put that number. I think they don't want to put 69 for obvious reasons. But it is what it is, and I think it still benefits Jacob. I think if they really want to be committed to him, they could still shoot him to the moon as a baby face. So I don't necessarily think it hurts him. I think it really helps out Solo a lot. So I don't think it's a matchup where it hurts Jacob. I think all parties involved, it works out in that end. And then in regards to the main event, the main event was the main event. Wasn't terrible in my opinion. Because again, we're at a point where John Cena, like, we kind of know what we're getting with John Cena match. We're getting overbooked things. We're getting simplified move sets and all that stuff in the match. And I thought, like, everybody worked, the way that they worked. It wasn't a barn burner, but I thought it was entertaining for what it was. The fans were into it. As far as the overbooking, the only nitpick I have when it comes to that was like Penta coming out. I was just like, why is he coming out? And he's dancing. This man's getting beat up. He's like more like dancing in the thing. And
he was like Jeff Hardy making the save for Matt Hardy in AEW.
Yeah, and I was just like, what are you doing? I was like, oh, what, like. But I think it was more of like, what the fuck does he have to do with like this, right?
Well, he has been feuding with the Seth Riders on Raw.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, I don't, but it was just one of those things where it's just like, I don't know, I felt a little too, I don't know. It was just like, I guess you need a Penta to show up at Saudi. I guess that's how you do it, right? But again, the match what it was what it was, and then Cena winning, hey. It was a fine main event. Believe me, I've seen worse from John Cena this year. this wasn't his worst performance. I'll give you that.
This was arguably one of his best performances. I would say. I think that it was the right kind of like bombastic attitude era-esque NWO interference, bloodline rules type of thing, where everybody comes in, all your big pops for the interference, except that it didn't have the energy to create the kind of frenetic chaos like we saw a few weeks ago in the four-way that Jey Uso won against Bronson Reed and I forget who else.
Yeah.
Rusev and Sheamus was in that matchup from 2 weeks ago.
For the King of the Ring, right? For the King of the Ring.
That had that frenetic chaos feel that was great during the Attitude Era. This felt more kind of forced because you got Seth and the Seth and the Braun Stars coming casually down the ramp, the long ass ramp.
Yeah.
You got Penta doing his slow walk down the ramp. You had Sammy coming down. He's the only one that decided to run to make the save in this whole thing. So yeah, it just I thought that they could have smoothed that out and fleshed that out quite a bit, and it didn't need to be 12 minutes of all the interference and stuff. And I thought that Cena and Punk before that, the 15-16 minutes before all the chaos, the forced chaos and run-ins happened, I thought they were having a very respectable matchup. I thought that it was slower than 2011, 2013 and stuff like that, but I thought it was very respectable. Them playing the greatest hits was getting the most out of the crowd. The crowd was engaged in everything, and I thought if they just went to a logical finish or just cut that 12-minute portion at the end and made it into like a very compact 5 to 6 minutes, I think that I would be even higher on the matchup than I am. I gave it 3.5 stars, and I'm still on that rating, but I think it could get closer to like a great matchup, like 4 stars, if you just compact all the interference into a tighter fit.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Just because, like, honestly, too, like, when you say that it feels forced, it kind of did feel like that because it kind of, you know what it felt like, too? It kind of felt like what they did at WrestleMania 40, where they had, like, each individual come out, and it's just like, you know, they're using that kind of formula on things, and I think sometimes it's going to get to a point where it's like, guys, not every match is, like, endgame. Can we just, like, find a different way to, like, overbook shit instead of, like, making it feel like it has to be, like, this formula? That's just my opinion on that. But besides that, like, I do agree. Like the match itself, like, if you look at the match itself was fine. Like, you know, because you also got to consider Cena is pushing 50. CM Punk is 46, 47. So it's like, you're not going to get what you got in 2011. No. Like, we're not getting that. So you have to be very acceptive of what we're getting, right? If this is the matchup that they put it together, you just have to be more mindful of what we're getting. We're not, you know, some people could turn the clock, some people can't. Obviously, John Cena has tried to, he can't, because he still be on one gear one, sometimes even less than that, like half a gear. But, you know, it is what it is. And I thought it was a fine matchup.
Yeah. As far as the Jade Cargill of it all, I mean, I said this in the live chat to y'all earlier this week after the Roxanne matchup, but this was not a good week for Jade Cargill and her supporters. Like, the supporters can highlight her promo about, you know, lowering down the boos and stuff like that. The boos aren't coming because she's so good and because she's a black female who's strong and independent and stuff like that, like a lot of people want to put at that. She's just not that good for the push that she's getting. It's pretty that simple. It's either one of two things. It's either she's not that good for the push that she's getting, or WWE is doing an awful job at booking Jade Cargill. And I'm leaning towards the latter. I like what Jade offers. I've liked Jade in the past. She is the exception to the rule. I said this yesterday on the review, and I'll say it to you here and everybody watching. Jade Cargill is the exception to the rule of the person who leaves AEW and comes to WWE in a better position. Everybody else, you could say WWE has done a better job with them than their final runs in AEW. Cody is a top babyface and has stayed in the top star spot where he was never really getting that opportunity or never wanted that opportunity in AEW. CM Punk, there's a little bit of an argument there because they did do a good job with booking him in AEW, gave him a lot, but you could say you love CM Punk more in WWE than AEW, and I'd be perfectly fine with that argument. Ethan Page, by far, is like a top heel on NXT in comparison to being on Ring of Honor for like 6 months in AEW. Ricky Starks was off of TV for a year, and now it looks like he's going to be one of the top stars in NXT in the years to come. The Blake Monroe, we got to wait and see with all of that, how that's going to go. But everybody, Penta, Phoenix, like the list, Lexis King, WWE has done a better job than what they were doing when they left AEW. Jade Cargill, we are now 2 years. And I don't think a lot of people realize we are 2 years into the Jade Cargill experiment in WWE. And mind you, she spent a little over 2 years in AEW. Now compare the AEW run to the WWE run. I think that this is a 10-8 round. AEW booked Jade Cargill better than WWE. It's plain and simple because they highlighted her strengths, made her go in, hit a few moves, get in, get out, dominant champion, a heel, good on promos, good on the whole look. The look has not changed. She looks incredible. She looks like an action figure. She looks like a movie star. But as far as her strengths in the ring, WWE has done everything to highlight her weaknesses and hide her strengths. Her weaknesses is doing 10-minute matches where she has to doing 8-minute matches where she has to sell for 60% of it and do 40% moves. He did 6 moves yesterday in that matchup against Asuka. 6 moves. And none of it looked as good as Asuka. They have made her a babyface who's not a babyface like Goldberg and Brock Lesnar. No, she's a babyface that sells when she's not that good at selling. It does not make sense. And I think it was Dion or somebody else in the chat yesterday. They made the best comparison, the best analogy to this. It really is like Jade was booked like Goldberg in WCW, and WWE has decided to book Jade like Goldberg in WWE in 2003, 2004. And it's really been highlighted by this new push that she's getting into the singles status.
Yeah, and with me, I've been critical on Jade's WWE run, right? Because there was even times where people, have left comments and are thinking like, oh, bro was being tough on Jade. Oh, he comes off like a Jade Cargill hater. And it's like, it's not me hating. It's me, critiquing what I've been seeing. And if I'm seeing an individual who succeeded in one company and, we know her flaws, and they hit it very well, and then we're kind of seeing that she's being exposed, how can I defend that? You know what I mean? Like, how can I sit here and say like, oh no, this is okay. Oh no, she's learning. At the end of the day, she's been there long enough to know the basics of wrestling. That's all I come from. Like, where it's like, do I expect her to be a ring general? Absolutely not. Everybody's not a ring general, but I do expect a level of like, your moves looking clean. You're, being, again, the basics. And if you're somebody who can't work more than 10 minutes, then that's a problem, because it's like, it shows, because the more that you're in the match, your flaws are going to show even more. And I think that's the problem with WWE, right? You're on a bigger spotlight. So it's not like you could hide no matter what. Like, you can't avoid it, right? At most, you could probably, NXT, which that's probably where she should have started at. But the reason why they didn't is because they made her such a big fucking deal when they signed her, right? It was all over all over the internet. It was all over their page alone, right? And they presented her on TV already as like this big signing. So it's like they already shot themselves on the foot by doing that. They should have just kind of built her organically. If she starts at NXT, she starts at NXT. You could bring her up less than a year. You did it with the other women. You could still brought her up less than the time that you felt like she was going to be ready. But then when the company comes on and says, hey, she'll be on when she's ready, and then it's like she's on, and then it's like, what did you really do with her in the Performance Center? Because there's no way you're telling me that this was improvement from what she was doing in AEW. You know, with AEW, you know, they had shorter matches. She used her movesets pretty well. The one thing that I noticed with Jade always was that when there's times where she tries to do a move, she gets very unconfident. And sometimes she hesitates. And that's what I noticed. And I've been seeing that a lot in WWE as well, where there's times where it kind of just looks off, where it kind of looks like she misses like a pin. I don't know what the fuck it is, you know? And it's just like, I don't know, you know? And she's somebody I'm like, hey, I want to cheer for her. But it's like, if I'm not getting something that's good on TV, then it's like, I can't sit there and hide it. I can't be excited like other people. Oh, Queen of the Ring. She won Queen of the Ring. But it's like, no, the match sucked. I'm sorry. Like, I can't give passes at this point when it comes to stuff like that, because she's been there long enough to just know, like this is not it. But it's like they're giving her a push now. You know, obviously people see it as this kind of win that she won the Queen of the Ring. That's good for her. It's a good push. But it's like, you know, I think it's a mixture of things. I do blame partly. I do blame a big part of it. I do blame WWE for, but then also it's like she's also responsible too, because just like, you've been here long enough. You've been in the wrestling business to know probably what you should be doing and what looks good and what's not good. And it's like, we just haven't seen that from her. And it's, you know, it sucks, because I'm like, I don't want to be at that point where I'm against her, you know, and you know, somebody might think I'm like a racist or something. And it's just like, no, I love Bianca. I love, you know, if Bianca's great, you don't hear complaints about Bianca when it comes to that. So it has nothing to do with race. Naomi is having probably the best run of her character-wise in her career in WWE. She was somebody that I was critical on in the past, and the stuff that she's been doing has been fucking incredible when it comes to her character work. That's something that she's worked on, right? So it has nothing to do when people try to use that as a like, oh, black woman. It's like, no, that's not what it is. It's if you're a great wrestler, you're a great wrestler. If you're not great, you're not great. It has nothing to do with race, or it has nothing to do with gender. It's just, it is what it is.
Yeah, they just did her honest to God disservice of not putting her in NXT first, because we also made this argument yesterday. Lash Legend has improved leaps and bounds to the point that she's better than Jade in the ring. And when Jade comes into this company, Lash is just starting to improve. But now that she's been in the company for 2 years, Lash has exceeded her as far as what they offer in the ring, because she knows what's her strengths. And I agree, like, it is part and part. I give more of the blame to WWE because they haven't booked her well as a singles competitor. I think they did a good job. In retrospect, they did a good job by placing her in a tag team and making Bianca do most of the work to hide her weaknesses. But when you make that only a 1 year thing and then immediately put her into the singles, like, you're basically throwing her into the deep end and seeing if she can swim when you really haven't taught her how to swim yet.
Yeah, you know, it's one of those things where it's like, it's very unfortunate, because I think we all want to get behind Jade. I think she looks amazing, right? She looks like a fucking superhero. You know, obviously, like, her work when it comes to like her physique, when it comes to stuff like that, obviously she puts in the work in that, right? And I'm not saying that she's not putting in the work into wrestling. Sometimes you could train all you want, and then sometimes it just, you won't see the results. So I don't question her work ethic. It's one of those things, again, where it's, you know, like we said before, like, there's people who, you know, they get into the business and sometimes it just doesn't work out. You know, obviously a big part of Jade is what she brings to the table. She's, you know, again, like we said, like, when you look at her, like, you know, she looks fucking incredible. But besides that, it's just, you know, and that's why I never want to downplay in that situation where it's like, oh, I question that she's doing this or that, or I don't think her heart is into it, just because, like, that's a personal thing that I don't know, and I don't think that's right for somebody like me to question that, unless if it was like one of those things where somebody mentally checks out, then you could probably check it. Then you could probably question that. I don't think she's not in that situation at all. But it's just, when we got to critique and we got to criticize, we just got to do it. That's all it really is for me.
And Clown says WWE may have done a disservice, but she could help herself out. Natty runs the school. Go spend some of your own time in the dungeon and train. We don't know if she's spending her off time training. She may be doing that, but she just is when the lights are on, and her only matches are going to be on TV because they cut down on house shows. Like, she's not getting in the reps. Like, if she was in NXT, she would be in the Performance Center all the time. She's basically obligated to work in the Performance Center all the time. That's why I'm saying that WWE did her a disservice. Yeah, she could do all of that stuff, and she could be doing all that stuff. But it is a disservice at the end of the day to not be training in the Performance Center every day if you're going to get this type of push.
Yeah, and then also, even if you're on NXT TV, even if you have your flaws on NXT TV, it's more forgivable, because we've seen it late. Like, there's been times where there's talents that they really fuck up on so bad on NXT TV. Like, I think recently was like that pin fall that I was like, what the fuck was that? Like, somebody missed a pin and they still got pinned to win the match. It happens on TV, right? But at least on NXT, it's more forgivable because we still understand, like, yeah, a lot of these people are still green. They're still learning. So at least she would have gotten more of a pass on that aspect. But the fact that you shot her straight to the main roster and then do what you've been doing, it's just like, it puts her in a tough spot. And it's very unfortunate, all around.
I got Dion who says Queen of the Ring lineage is kind of crazy. Zelina, Naya, and Jade. And Craig says that's what I was saying yesterday. When Naya's the best worker, we got problems.
Oh my god,
that's wild. That's wild.
Oh damn.
But the other big thing from Night of Champions has to be Hikuleo, aka Tala Tonga, making his debut. Do you think that this is the right spot for him to be in? And what do you think about him skipping out on NXT and going straight to the main roster to join his brothers in Solo's version of the Bloodline? And what do you think they are going to do with this group that is kind of in the Seth Rollins position of their unnamed? I know us as fans are still calling them the Bloodline, but they're technically not the Bloodline anymore.
Man, in regards to Hikuleo, yeah, I think he should have probably done some stuff in NXT, just because it's been a year. But I guess it's gotten to a point where it's like, well, we haven't used him in a year. He hasn't been on TV or anything in a year, so it's like, might as well just put him with his brothers. That's mainly the reason why they signed him, was for the Bloodline stuff.
But
right?
To be fair, it seems like this is a theme. Like, if you spend a certain amount of time in New Japan, you're going straight to the main roster. It's been years since, like, the examples of, like, Shinsuke Nakamura and Finn Balor started off in NXT, but, like, you've seen the Good Brothers went straight to the main roster. The Gorillas of Destiny went straight to the main roster. JC Mateo went straight to the main roster. So I understand Hikuleo, who spent 8 years. He was in the New Japan dojo. Yeah. Spent 8 years in New Japan. I understand him starting on the main roster.
Yeah. Like when it comes to your point, when it comes to that, yeah, it's just one of those things again, like where you kind of hearing reports of like, they haven't really been liking what they've been seeing, right? I think it's more that aspect of, all right, maybe put him in NXT, see what he does, right? Because Solo did have like a small NXT run, but Solo, granted, was only 2 years into his wrestling career, so in that aspect, you kind of understand, like, all right, he's still a baby. In comparison, Hikuleo's already a vet in a sense, because he's close to 10 years in the business, or even probably more than that. So you kind of understand that. I just thought, maybe this time I was like, hey, he's finally on TV. That's how I felt, honestly. I was like, finally, when I saw him. I'm just not too crazy about the name. And then as far as what they go for,
Tala Tonga, they're the Tongans.
Yeah, it's just like, all right, it's a choice, I guess. Right? But so I mean, it was cool to see him. Like it's like, all right, he's finally on TV. As far as the group goes, it is weird that they're going with these stables with no names, because it's kind of like, there's gonna be some point you're kind of gonna have to come up with some names. You just can't. It's a little weird to me that WWE's going this direction, but it's kind of a cycle too, where it's like, Seth Rollins and his group, they're in this like this CM Punk vortex, and now their group is like kind of in like this Jacob Fatu vortex now, where it's like, all right, we're gonna be feuding with Jacob, and then it's like, where does that go after the fact, right? But overall, it was cool to see him. It's cool to see him. He's finally on TV. As far as what the group goes forward, I mean, they already killed the bloodline stuff. I'm not looking forward to whatever people try to go with that. It's like, it's a different group, right? They have fucking Jeff Cobb in the group. It's not the bloodline anymore. It's like, we got to do something. Like,
Got to do something different. South Pacific Savages, or Samoan SWAT team, whatever you want to call it. We need something. We need something to call them that's not the Bloodline, because the fans are just going to call them New Bloodline or Bloodline 3.0 if you don't give them something else to go on. But we brought up CM Punk and what he had to do against John Cena at Night of Champions. So let's talk about Saudi Arabia, his trip to Saudi Arabia for the first time, CM Punk, as back in 2019, of course, CM Punk sent a harsh tweet to The Miz, referencing Miz's appearances on WWE's events in Saudi Arabia. Since Punk is himself now in the country, he's received some criticism for it. At the time, he wrote, "Go suck a blood money covered dick in Saudi Arabia, you fucking dork," to The Miz. And during Friday's Night of Champions kickoff in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, Punk was booed by the live audience, with one fan demanding that Punk apologize. This led to CM Punk saying very controversial words in response to some people that believed in him. He said, "This guy wants me to apologize for a mean tweet I wrote 7 years ago. Hey, what's your name? Muhammad? Muhammad? Hey, listen. Legitimately, it had nothing to do with Saudi Arabia. I woke up and I was crabby. I wrote a mean tweet to The Miz. I apologize to The Miz and Muhammad. I sincerely apologize to you and all of Saudi Arabia." He then shook the fan's hand. The crowd cheered. It turned the crowd around. If CM Punk, if that was the intent of the apology, it worked for the crowd in attendance at the kickoff show. They were very understanding of Punk growing as an individual, as Triple H would put it, as Triple H commented on CM Punk's apology on the Night of Champions post show. He said, "If you had ever told me 10 years ago that CM Punk would be here in Saudi for the WWE, I would have told you you're out of your mind. But people grow, people change, people evolve, and they learn a lot in life. And I think not only was I privileged to watch them this week as they prepared for this fight, I was privileged to watch two men grow as people, especially CM Punk. I was privileged to watch him grow as a human being, to step out here and apologize to the people of Saudi, to just cherish where he is at in life and his career, and the things he gets to do and the opportunities that he has. And I was incredibly proud of him. Oh, such like a proud father, his proud daddy, Triple H out here. He's so sweet. So what did you think about CM Punk's apology to Saudi Arabia? And do you think this is a message of growth or a message of necessity and pre-planned by not only Punk, but WWE?
I think it was pre-planned. And I'm not saying that because I'm, you know, trying to be against Phil. I'm not trying to be against Punk, whatever, he wants to go by. But it's one of those things where the reason why I'm pretty critical on it is not the way, right? Part of it is his delivery of the apology. But in my opinion, do I think if he doesn't get called out by the fan, do I think he apologizes? To be honest with you, no. I don't think he apologizes. He got put on the spot. Somebody directly said something to him. He put focus on that, and he basically was forced to apologize because he was put on the spot, right? But you could see how uncomfortable he got too, where he saw the guy, he was trying to, but then it was a way that he kind of spoke about it. Hey, this guy is upset that I made a mean tweet, and it's just like, bro, like, it's not the fact that it's a mean tweet. It's you legit used, like, you went off on somebody using the whole entire country as like your crutch to go against the guy. Regardless of how we may feel about Saudi Arabia, it's fucked up regardless, right? Because it's like Miz may take a shot, he made a joke, whatever the case may be, right? But I don't think that it was very necessary for what Punk did. It's just because it's like, bro, like, you just look like a fucking douche by doing that. And then the fact that you're making it seem like it was just like, oh, it had nothing to do with Saudi, bro. It had everything to do with Saudi Arabia because you brought them up. Like, you brought it up. So it had everything to do with that.
Literally what Miz said had nothing to do with Saudi Arabia. He
it had to do with Punk.
Saudi Arabia into it.
Yeah, like Punk, Mrs. comment was directly about Punk. It wasn't about anything else. It was like, bro, you legit just brought the whole entire nation in your tweet. Like, it had everything to do with that. But the fact that, again, me personally, I think it was probably planned. I think it was planned that they're like, hey, if it goes, this is how you respond to it. I seriously believe if the fan didn't do what he did, I do believe that Punk does not apologize. Like, I really do believe that. Because we all know how Punk is, or we kind of know what Punk is about. If Punk is not the victim in the story, he's the hero. And when it comes to this, he got put on the spot. He got put on the spot, and he was forced to do something about it. And that's what he did. Because even after the fact, like, even after, like, that thing finished, he was still talking to the fan. Like, he went up to the fan, and they had a conversation. You could see. But you could see that the fan was, like, they were having a conversation, but you could see, like, the fan was still, like, pretty, like he was still, I want to say pissed, but he was still, like, very passionate about what Punk said. You could see, like, there was a like, not a confrontation again, but you could see, like, there was, like, word, like, they were being serious about what happened. And again, that shit was planned. It was definitely, I do feel like it was planned. I think if Punk would have set it up amongst himself, say like he's talking to the crowd, and then he says that, like, he acknowledges, hey, there's something that I did, that I said years ago on Twitter. I think that's a little bit different, just because then it's like, all right, you're not being forced to do any, like, you kind of said it. Even if that was planned by WWE, at least it makes you look better. But it's the fact that you got put on the spot, and then the way that you responded to it, it was just like, I don't know. I wasn't really feeling it. Do I think it's the worst apology? No, but I don't think he was. I don't
feel like it's a slightly disingenuous apology.
Yes.
I would say It is a very worse apology, because his apology does not take any accountability other than he put a mean tweet. He was feeling crabby when he woke up one morning. All of that stuff. Like, in saying that it had nothing to do with Saudi Arabia, so basically you're blaming the Miz for the tweet? You're blaming the Miz pissing you off for that tweet? Basically, in a way, you're kind of putting the blame on Miz, that Miz is the issue, why you had to bring Saudi Arabia into it. And how does it have nothing to do with Saudi Arabia when you said, go suck a blood money covered dick? Does that have nothing to do with Saudi Arabia? That is bullshit.
Yo,
my God.
Not only that, but it's like, you use the term blood money. when WWE was going to Saudi Arabia, that was the term of blood money because it was like they're taking money that they shouldn't be taking, right? So it's the fact that you even used the term of Saudi Arabia, of like the government giving WWE money, like they called it blood money for a reason. So the fact that you even use that is like, bro, like let's be real. Like, come on, like, you know, but then also the fact that you let the Miz get to you to that point, the Miz, you let the, out of all fucking people in this world, you let the Miz get to you. Like, come on, like, you know, and you know, as far as Triple H kissing his ass about, oh yeah, it's one of those, like I said before, it's like we gotta stop treating this man like he's a child. He's a grown ass man. He's responsible for what he's done.
It was 6 years ago. You were 40. You are 40. How you using the excuse of, oh, I woke up pretty crabby. You know, not everybody's perfect. I wake up, I was in a crabby mood, and bullshit, dude. You're 40. That's no excuse. Like, we gotta stop. We gotta, like, we went up here and we were like, we can't defend Javon Evans when he said some stupid shit on social media. We sure as hell ain't giving CM Punk the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah, and Javon Evans is 21. So it's like, I didn't give him the benefit of the doubt. I'm like, he's a grown man. I was like, in a lot of states, if he commits a crime, he's an adult. So I'm like, he's a grown man. Phil is more than double his age. So it's like, we got to get to a point where it's like, we you know, and it's like, oh, even like in the reports of like, every time there's a report, oh, you know, they said he's an outstanding person backstage. I don't need to keep hearing report cards on this man. And it's like, if we keep hearing shit like this, it's like, don't you think he's a problem then? Then shouldn't that be more of the acknowledgement? Like, he's always been an issue. If you gotta always put out this stupid ass report card, or like, oh yeah, he's mature. It's like, I think that's why it's getting to a point where I was like, when I see like these field defenders, where it's just like, guys, like, stop the fucking defending this man. Like if your life fucking depends on it, because it's like, you could be a fan of somebody and still acknowledge that they have shitty traits. Like, it's okay, guys. Like, not all your heroes are good people. Like, it's okay. It's okay to acknowledge that. But it's just, that's, you know, and even the whole thing, I don't know, you saw the video where he pushes the kid, like the kid wanted a picture.
Yeah,
and
I saw
that. He pushed him, and then everyone was like, oh, Bret Hart would be disappointed because he had a Bret Hart shirt on, you know, all that stuff. And it's just like, you know, even there was even people defending that. And it's like, for me, that it's a double-edged sword for me, because I understand like they're in a situation where it's like, maybe he had to get to some place. But then also, I understand the argument of, hey, it was a kid. Like, why didn't you just stop and take a picture for a kid? You were doing it at Fanatics Fest, right? Somebody begged you to hold their kid again, and you took the kid up and you hold him because somebody put you on the spot. So it's like, it wasn't a good look. I don't think it makes him look the worst, but it wasn't a good look. But the fact that people are defending that, it's just like kind of weird to me. Because it's like, he's a grown man. It's like, can we just stop doing this shit where it's like, you know, if it gets to a point where it's like, you know, if it's necessary, I'll defend Punk on things. But it's like, this whole thing is just, you know, he made a mistake, yes. I just think, like what Vala said earlier, the disrespect was louder than an apology.
Yeah. Yeah. He is a man that infamously said that about Hangman Adam Page, but he does not keep the same energy when it comes to himself.
And what I forgot to add too was that there was a clip where the reason why, because I know there's people who don't understand, like, oh, why is he getting criticism about going to Saudi and stuff? This man was on a podcast where he legitimately said that he will never go to Saudi Arabia. No amount of money in the world will ever make him go to Saudi Arabia. And he went back on his word. That's why people are criticizing him for. That's why people are calling him a hypocrite.
His word so many times. Like, that's why it's like, it's not even. It's
you see what I mean?
It's disappointing, but it's just like, this is who he is. This is who he is in a nutshell.
Yep.
People tend to expose themselves. So yeah. So yeah, he said it himself. It's shady. Yep. It is what it is. Chuck Berry says government politics and pro wrestling is a horrible mix, especially when you rape it with an entire country, as if the country's fans are a full representative of the government's politics. Yeah, this
Yeah,
is
I
true.
100% agree with that. I 100% agree with that. Just because, like, again, the wrestlers going, I know this is whole moral compass of like, oh, the wrestlers should be against it. At the end of the day, it's their job. And if they got to do it, they got to do it, So I can't even put it on the wrestlers. What people got to understand is that I'm not going to put the wrestlers in the same category as Punk. Why? Because Punk has been very outspoken about these things. He's been very outspoken. That's why he's getting the criticism that he's getting. So when people try to lump it with other wrestlers or all this shit, I don't think it's fair to the wrestlers.
I saw some stupid people being like, well, what about Sami Zayn? What about Sami Zayn? Sami Zayn was banned from going. He didn't make that choice. He was banned from going by Saudi Arabia. Like, do y'all nincompoops do y'all have brain rot because you're a fan of CM Punk? I did not understand why I saw so many people who did not know the facts about that brought Sammy into it when he was banned by the country.
Yeah, and then Sammy never went as far as Punk did when it comes to like Saudi Arabia. Sammy, to his benefit, was always the guy that was like, maybe hopefully someday things will come together and I'm able to be there. That's what Sammy was. And Sammy has been able to do that ever since. So, when it comes to things in Saudi Arabia, obviously there's things that needs to work on. However, the one thing I will not take away when it comes to WWE is that WWE has influenced Saudi to change some of their laws, like some of their stuff. Yeah. So I will never take that away from WWE. And I think that's one thing that, people want to talk about that. I think that would be a great thing to talk about because, again, because of WWE, now women are able to drive like in their country. The women in WWE are able to perform on the shows. So like it's slow progress, but WWE has had a big influence when it comes to their nation.
Yeah. Definitely that's worth a conversation because these shows have gone a long way to helping them get out of kind of archetypal kind of misogyny that they had against women. So it's come a long way from where it was in 2018. The crowd overall for these shows have come a long way from when it used to just be like house show wear with people on their cell phones not reacting to anything. Now you get one of the best crowds of the year yesterday at Night of Champions. So it's come a long way in so many different ways, whether it's as a viewer seeing how the crowd reacts, and then like you said, the government politics, they've improved that as well. It's gone really, really done good in Saudi Arabia, but CM Punk is getting criticism for stuff that he said himself and now has gone back on. So we got to understand that it's a very layered and complex conversation. But that was a lot of the news going into yesterday. We do have a super chat donation from Roxy. Thank you so much, Roxy, for the support. We appreciate you for joining us today. Saying, so was Jack Perry right about about Punk? Question mark. LOL. Laughing emoji. Hangman Adam Page was right about him. The Young Bucks may have been right about him. I don't necessarily,
he didn't say nothing. Jack
Perry really didn't say anything outright, except that real glass, Crimea River, really.
Yeah, and I mean, he did cry, so I guess he's right about that.
He was right. We got and also Vala bringing up a good point, and thank you again, Roxy, for the super chat. Vala saying Sammy still takes his Saudi paychecks to Sammy for Syria, so that's another good point of why it made no sense bringing up Sami Zayn's name when it came to all of that. But like I said, a lot of the focus yesterday going into yesterday's show that WWE was in Saudi Arabia was mainly on CM Punk and him being there for the first time. But during the week, it was on the bigger subject of everything that's going on in Iran and in Israel and how that was going to affect this trip to Saudi Arabia for WWE. Fightful Select does note that the charter flight for the WWE roster was scheduled to take off yesterday following the show to get everybody back in time to Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania for this Monday's Raw and SmackDown TV tapings. The roster will then get the following week off. It's also said that not the entire roster made the trip to Riyadh this time around. But yeah, it was a lot of controversy, a lot of people saying that this show should be canceled because of the risks they were taking with all the hostilities going on in Iran and Israel. There was the ceasefire that only lasted about an hour by Donald Trump as well. So it seems like everything worked out for the better when it comes to this trip from Night of Champions. There hasn't been any reports of anything happening in regards to WWE being detained in any way. So it looks like everything went on as planned. But I said during the week, and I'll say it here again, WWE's handling of this whole situation wasn't the best look, and it's just compound for all the stuff that we've said about WWE with their greed and the ticket prices elevating. It feels like their greed and their want for money supersedes anything else when it comes to WWE, and it felt like that during the week where I was very kind of disgusted on Night of Champions. And I'm happy that we did a watch along, we did a review, we didn't get any super chats, and I was fine with that. I felt like I was doing our job with just covering what we needed to cover, and I didn't want to get any super chat donations, honestly, for it, because I felt very disgusted even talking about the show the entire week. I'll be honest with y'all.
Yeah, I mean, I can understand, just because, believe me, I kind of felt the same way where it was just like, fuck, should he even be doing this show? Like, with everything was going on, I knew they were gonna do it, because once that air thing kind of got lifted, I knew they were gonna do it, just because it's not only that so much money is involved, but the way that WWE does things now, it's not like the way Vince McMahon runs it. Meaning, there's times where Vince was forced to change venues last minute, and it will end up working out. This time around, things are a little bit different where it comes to like PLEs. The cities are basically paying WWE to come into town. And if they would have had to cancel the show, they're not doing the show no matter what. Just because they weren't going to get a city last minute to pay up what they're probably going to get paid and to move it and everything. On that aspect of business, that wasn't going to happen. But, when it comes to real life stuff, real like tensions. Obviously, Iran and Israel was a big thing, right? And I saw the videos of that, which was pretty insane. And I'm like, that alone is crazy. But the fact that it was very close to Saudi, and then it's like, oh, you guys are planning to fly out while there's freaking air strikes. Probably not a good idea. Like, probably not a good thing for you. But in hindsight, at least everything did end up working out. But yeah, I do agree. Like, WWE didn't really do the best. Maybe they were trying to wait it out. Maybe they were trying to see. But I do believe that they were going to get there regardless, and it's not really a good thing. Like when it comes to that feeling.
Yeah, kind of feels a little yucky inside, but they did make the trip, and they were there for Friday Night SmackDown this week, which did not go off without a snag, but that's another story, which we'll talk about here. The show featured CM Punk coming out dressed as John Cena's Thuganomics character to confront Cena with a rap where he talked about Cena's ex being rehired, how Batista was a better actor, how Cena was just Hulk Hogan but somehow more problematic, and how he's the Drake to his Kendrick Lamar. Yes, he actually said that, and he meant it, and some people praised him for it. Yeah.
He fucking lost. That's a fucking lie. He lost. He lost on Saturday. So that's a lie. That's a fucking lie.
Cody Rhodes and Randy Orton. They apparently had a in-ring promo to hype up the King of the Ring final, but a lot of people who are watching live did not see it. If you watched the USA coverage, you did see it thanks to cell phone footage because of something we'll talk about here with an outage with the broadcast feed and an outage in the building. Tiffany Stratton beat Nia Jax to win a fun mess of a last woman standing main event that also featured Naomi with a cash-in attempt before being throttled by Tiffy, who picked up the victory. Street Profits versus the Wyatt Six went to a no contest when the rest of the SmackDown tag team division got involved. Speaking of tag team wrestling, you had Andrade and Rey Fenix defeated DIY in a great match where Andrade and Rey Fenix looked really good, as I was calling them the Lucha Cousins. JC Mateo picked up a win over Jimmy Uso. Post-match, you had Solo Sikoa try to invite his brother back to the family, but got slapped in the face for it. This led to Mateo attacking Jimmy, but before Solo could hit the Samoan spike, Jacob Fatu came down to make the save and stood tall with Jimmy Uso. Ron, the Truth Killings, was once again looking for John Cena, but he was met with Malachi or Aleister Black hitting him with the black mass. He also had a confrontation backstage with Damian Priest, who warned him that Truth wasn't done with him. And finally, we had Julia beat Zelina Vega to win the WWE Women's United States Championship to become the third ever Women's United States Champion. Finally, the curse is over. SmackDown was another 3-hour SmackDown, but we got good news when it comes to that as well later on in the show, so don't you worry. But what was your overall thoughts on this week's SmackDown?
SmackDown was okay. Obviously, the way it started was a little weird, just because of what ended up happening, technical difficulties, whatever the case may be. Julia winning the U.S. title, thank God. In the great words of Drew McIntyre, I pray for this, and it happened. So that was good. It was just mad funny, like all the pyro, they made it a big. It was like it's the United States title. Like he didn't need all that pyro, but I guess in front of the Saudi crowd, you need to make a statement for America. Like I guess you need to make a statement for America and give it to a person who's not American. But the Punk stuff, it was very cringe, to say the least. Him coming out with the gear, I didn't mind too much. I thought it was funny, but there was the rap that I think kind of ruined everything. It just came off cringe. It came off like a dad, like those really cringy dad jokes. That's how that segment felt like. It just felt like a long, cringy dad joke that I was like, what are you trying to do? And the raps just felt flat. It was a wrong crowd to do that in front of too, because it's just like they weren't like they did like their moments like, oh, but it's like, you guys really know what he's talking about. It was just, I think he did it in front of the wrong crowd. The lines were flat. And then what's up with WWE trying to use this whole Kendrick and Drake thing?
And they don't know what it's about. They don't know what it's about.
Like they never know. And it's just like, guys, can we stop doing this? Like, stop. If you don't know references or anything, can you please stop using that reference?
You don't know what it's about. Like, would you just stop? Would you just stop, please? And I got so much heat because I made a joke that I've heard better raps on late 2010s, 106 in Park. And I had a whole bunch of idiots who were like, "Oh, it's supposed to be bad. He's mocking him," and it's like, No, I'm saying that the whole segment was bad and it went against who CM Punk's supposed to be. He got beat up, he got sunned, and he got disrespected on the mic with Cena using his pipe bomb. And all he did was have a lame rap where he flubbed over half of the lines. He did not do the rap that well. And the whole segment came off flat for the go-home show of a heated blow-off of a rivalry that's 12 years in the making. Like, it was just an overall bad segment. Yeah, you could have. I had fun as well when I heard Thuganomics, which was one of my favorite theme songs of all time, and Punk coming out in the gear. But if you wanted the good version of this, where he's mocking him, but it comes off well, just go back to 2003 and check out the Kurt Angle version of this. Kurt Angle did it better.
Yeah, and it's just I think people get confused of what's supposed to be bad on purpose than what's really just bad.
Yeah.
Because you could still be bad making fun of somebody, but you Kurt Angle, that's a great example of it because he was just being corny and he was being himself, right? While making fun of what John Cena was doing, right? Time. But then also another point was Bo Dallas when he made fun of Flow Rider, and that was entertaining. Like, you know,
there's countless examples of that in wrestling where it is better and it doesn't go completely against the character.
It wasn't a good segment. It went against everything. It was not a good trip for Saudi Arabia for this guy.
Yeah, did not go too well for him at all. We got Andrade and Phoenix who says Davion who says Andrade and Phoenix versus DIY was a banger. I agree. Power Driver Finisher saying that's how Cena used to rap also. No, it's not. Cena would never flub over his lines three different times to the point that people didn't know what the punchline was. Like, they were quiet for half of that rap until he started mentioning people like Batista and Hulk Hogan. And then they were like, oh, when he said the X line, they didn't react because they didn't know who he was referencing. I guess they didn't know Nikki Bella is signed with the company again, even though Punk has plenty of X's that are signed with the company as well. So that didn't make too much sense.
It's gonna be hella awkward when Lita shows up at Evolution. I'll tell you that much. It's gonna be awkward.
Hella awkward when Mickey James shows up at Evolution. Hella awkward if Beth Phoenix gets re-signed. Like, he's got like more X's than fucking. He got more X's than a Love Island contestant. Like, what the fuck are you talking about, bro?
Yo, I don't know. I don't know, man. Like,
it was not a good segment. It's just I agree, cringeworthy. It was very cringeworthy. And yeah, I agree. Like, some people were getting mad at that, being like, oh, yes, this is Punk's character. Did you not see what he did with Jeff Hardy? What he did with Jeff Hardy was make fun of Jeff Hardy, come out dressed as Jeff Hardy after he beat him and ran him out of the company. He won a loser leaves WWE match and basically goaded the fans to believe Jeff Hardy was coming back. He dressed up like Jeff Hardy and mocked him after he left the company. It wasn't right before a heated blow-off to their rivalry when he needed to be serious to sell people on the matchup. He did not sell anybody on the matchup with an awful rap.
Yeah, but then also, like, I do agree with that too. It was an awful rap, but then it was like he didn't even get his look back. So it wasn't even like, it was just like, if he would have done something after, maybe like he would have, I want to say save it, but it's just overall because it was the rap and then that's all it was. It was just like, all right, this is what the fuck we're getting for this. All right. Like, it wasn't good. The rap, it was awful. And if people are defending it all because it's supposed to be bad, it's just like you're not seeing the point then, because if everything's supposed to be bad, then I guess everything's supposed to be bad, right? Like, that's the point. Like, is that what we're doing? It's like when people bring up the John Cena match at WrestleMania. Oh no, it was supposed to be bad because he said he wasn't giving us nothing. No, it was bad because it was a bad fucking match. Like, we got to call it like it is. It was bad.
Yeah, exactly. Clear as day. But hey. People will try to convince themselves otherwise and say, no, he did it on purpose. He did it on purpose. He did it on purpose. They will fucking lie to themselves like idiots. I don't get it. I just don't get it. But you got some news about this episode of SmackDown because it did not go off without a hitch, Josh. As PW Insider reports that Friday night SmackDown episode of Friday night's episode of WWE SmackDown is currently available on Netflix internationally, or rather, it was airing, and fans noted that the show went off air not long after it started. It was believed that Netflix lost the transmission, but the real reason is that the power went off in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. This caused problems for WWE production, including the control room and the gorilla position. It went off during the Randy Orton and Cody Rhodes segment. Since WWE lost power, that meant that they couldn't control any elements of the show, and the show eventually came back on air with Michael Cole and Wade Barrett acknowledging the issues. WWE stopped the show after the incident happened. Fightful Select had more details on the situation. It was aired as normal to the United States, and there were also plans to retape the segment between Cody Rhodes and Randy Orton. The talent was made aware of the problems when they happened, and Orton attempted to kill time by talking to the crowd. After that, his song played as he was walked around meeting fans. 25 minutes after the problem started, Cody Rhodes came back out and the screens began to work. Carmelo Hayes came out in street clothes, interrupt, and got crossroads for it. It lasted in half an hour overall. A new report has another note on the issues to SmackDown International broadcast and how it affected the show. PW Insider reports that several matches had time cut due to the power issues that occurred during the taping in Riyadh. The report did not specify which matches had time cut. SmackDown airs in the United States at its usual time slot on the USA Network on Friday night, and as previously noted, the Cody Rhodes Randy Orton segment that was happening during the power outage was planned to be reshot, but instead they just aired it with cell phone footage taken from the crowd. So they did their best, but it was like a weird situation. And like we even had like people that were confused about the report. Like I know Romeo in our chat was like, the show went on, the show went. I was like, no, it didn't. It was a power outage overall. I had people in the Sports Illustrated chat, I think it was like Rick Eugenio, was like, oh, it was just a Netflix outage. I was like, no, it was a power outage in the building. So yeah, I just wanted to get all the notes out there because it was very weird situation that never happened before, and I had people thinking the worst, but it was fine otherwise. Besides that.
Oh yeah, because I was hearing first Netflix. I was like, I don't think that was a Netflix thing. Like
yeah, I knew it wasn't a Netflix
was,
thing because they wouldn't be airing the commercial 25 times if it was just a Netflix problem.
Yeah, and then also because that would have been a complete different feed when it comes to like if Netflix would have gone down. So when I heard like the power outage thing in the building, I was like, yeah, that makes more sense. And I think like there was even like that thing when Cody was like, oh, are we out? Like, like he was asking questions and shit. And I think that's when Carmelo Hayes came out, and I was just like, oh, they're just improvising, so they send a black man out there to just take the fall.
Hello, my baby. Hello, my darling. Hello, my baby. It was also previously reported that SmackDown was going back to 2 hours on July 4th, as the USA Network was beginning to air a series of The Rainmaker in the third hour's old time slot starting in August. But now it has been confirmed by WWE that on Friday night's episode, with Michael Cole telling the audience about the change. Friday night's episode was airing internationally where the news came out. SmackDown switched to 3 hours at the beginning of the year. At the time, it was noted that this was a temporary change, and we finally have gone through it, and now we're back to 2 hour SmackDown. How sweet it is, Josh, to have 2 hour SmackDowns back next week. Can't wait. Yeah,
I mean, I could watch SmackDown regularly now because that 3 hours was killing me. Because with SmackDown, it just felt like every time like I felt like I'm about to be finished, it just felt like when I realized it was an hour and a half left, it's just too much sometimes, and especially when you already did like all the stuff that you're already gonna do, and then now you're trying to stretch it out. It's like, it's not the same. Even like like with Raw, I know people complain about like when Raw was 3 hours. At least with Raw, they got they got used to it, they got the hang of it, because by the time when they're doing those 2 hours temporarily before they went to Netflix, it was one of those things where it was like, damn, Raw needs to be 3 hours. And it was because we got accustomed to it. They did a better job spreading it out. So SmackDown's a 2 hour show. It should be a 2 hour show, and it should have been that. But the network likes making money, and they probably realized like, maybe it needs to go back to being 2 hours. So I'm happy about that, and hopefully SmackDown gets better, like consistently being 2 hours.
Fingers crossed. According to a new report by WrestleVotes, a return is on its way coming up at SummerSlam, and it is Roman Reigns. Roman Reigns could be on the horizon, a return for the OTC. It's rumored that his name has come up eternally within WWE in recent weeks, signaling that Reigns could be returning in time for WWE SummerSlam 2025 in August. WWE has not yet announced or confirmed when Roman Reigns will be returning to WWE TV. He last appeared on the Raw after WrestleMania 41, where after he was betrayed by his former manager, the wise man Paul Heyman, who aligned with Seth Rollins at Mania. Reigns was laid out by Rollins and Braun Breaker on the Raw following WrestleMania. WWE SummerSlam 2025 is currently scheduled to take place from MetLife Stadium in East Rutherford, New Jersey on August 2nd and 3rd. Both nights will air live on Peacock in the US and on Netflix internationally. The promotional graphic for the WWE Premium Live event currently does feature Roman Reigns in it, which is a big indication that he will be featured, but he probably is not going to be back for long because he is set to have a major role in the upcoming Street Fighter film, as it has been confirmed this week by Deadline that Roman Reigns will play the role of Akuma in the upcoming live action version of Street Fighter. So congratulations to Roman Reigns. He's got probably his biggest role to date outside of his appearance in the Hobbs and Shaw Fast and Furious movie, where he playing Akuma in Street Fighter. So congrats to Roman Reigns on that. And I'm excited for Roman Reigns, which seems to be a yearly tradition of Roman takes the time off after Mania and he's back in time for SummerSlam.
Yeah, and we are not, when it comes to Roman, we're getting less Roman, and time is running out, because he did say that after this deal he's retiring from wrestling. So so the most you can make out of Roman, you're gonna do it. SummerSlam, I think, is a good catch, just because it's a 2-night event, and you need to sell those tickets. I think I saw like the early things so far. They're close to like 40,000 one of the nights, right? 40K, which is not bad. It's still a great number, but you need something, because if SummerSlam being 2 nights going forward, you gotta make it mean something. And Roman Reigns, if you give him a prominent match, means something.
Yeah, I think he should probably be in line. I would say SummerSlam, I would do Roman and Braun Breaker at SummerSlam, because I think that Seth will probably be busy with either Punk, finally have a blow off with Punk, which that rivalry just seems to keep going and going and going and going. Seems like WWE loves that feud a lot more than we do, because it's been going ever since Punk's return. So maybe we finally get the payoff at SummerSlam, or they do LA Knight and Seth Rollins there.
Yeah, because in regards to like the Punk and stuff, I think the early stuff was good. But now it's just kind of like, now it's getting to a point where it's just like, all right, guys, like, do we need this? Like, it's like a movie that gets its sequels, where it's like, do we really need a sequel of this? And that's how it's kind of starting to feel, where it's just like, it's a big giant circle that you guys are just running around, and it's like, it doesn't feel like it's entertaining anymore.
So yeah, I think Roman will either face Braun Breaker or Seth Rollins, or be in a big multi-man matchup with Rollins and the Seth Riders, Dangerous Alliance / Braun Stars, and then or yeah, and they'll probably be with like Punk or Sammy or the Usos. Who knows? Who knows what they're gonna do? But Roman should be in a big matchup at SummerSlam. It just makes sense. But someone who might be in some big matches to come is Aleister Black, as he's made his return to WWE shortly after WrestleMania 41, and a new report suggests that the company has big plans for him. PW Insider Elite reports that Black was described as being in a similar situation to Damian Priest several years ago. He's popular with the creative team, and there are plans for him to move up the card. Those in WWE are happy with his in-ring and promo work since his return, as well as his merchandise sales. This is why Black has been interacting more with top stars since his return. Black's most recent segment saw him interacting with Ron the Truth Killings as well as Damian Priest. Black confronted Killings backstage and Priest intervened. And then you had the segment on this week's SmackDown. He has yet to be pinned since returning to WWE back in April. What do you see as the future for the former Malachi Black in WWE, Josh?
I would hope like a mid-card title run or something. I don't see him getting that top belt, but it's one of those things where it's like with him, it's so mysterious. You really don't know. It's like, the guy could work, right? He's a great ring performer. When you give him the mic, he cuts his own promos, his style, and he's actually not bad at it. But I would say like a good mid card run, mid card ish kind of run. And if you're gonna have him interact with like top stars, the way that they're doing it, it could work out for him. It's just with him, sometimes you just don't know. It's always like sometimes it feels like it's about to get somewhere, then it doesn't. So it's like one of those things where it's like, I guess I have to wait and see what really happens.
Yeah, it seems like WWE is kind of leaning him towards being a heel as well, which might be better suited with the current roster more than anything. But then your final bit of news before we get into Monday Night Raw this week. Stone Cold Steve Austin could be coming back for one more match, Josh. We may be ending up seeing Stone Cold back in the ring again, as he's reportedly feels he may be able to return. Fightful Select reports that more than one source indicated that Austin said he might have one more in him during WrestleMania weekend back in April. Multiple people who talked to the WWE Hall of Famer said that he was at least open to the idea of returning to the ring under the right circumstances. Austin has said that TKO hadn't tried to contact him since they took over, but then made an appearance at WrestleMania 41. Several names have approached WWE management over the years, with CM Punk's name coming up often internally. Stone Cold retired from the ring after WrestleMania 19, where he lost to The Rock. He wouldn't wrestle again for 19 years when he had an impromptu matchup with Kevin Owens at WrestleMania 38 in 2022, which he won. He was reportedly approached about wrestling Roman Reigns at WrestleMania 39, but that never happened. But it looks like we might finally be getting the one dream match people thought they would never see: Stone Cold Steve Austin versus CM Punk. If you're gonna do it, you better do it next year. There's no better time than Las Vegas once again. You're right in Austin's backyard. Punk right now at this point, we are very early. We're like 9 months away from Mania, but he doesn't have any obvious opponents for WrestleMania 42. But Austin, if he is ready, if he is going to come back for one more match, that's the match to do.
I agree. In regards to Austin, he did have a fun match with KO, but I was also, we're talking about what, 4 or 5 years ago? Like, so we don't know what version we're going to get of Austin. I think if you kind of keep it more of the same with him, it could be entertaining because that was a fun, entertaining match. You just got to know his strengths. You got to know Austin's strengths. But as far as like, I think Punk will be a fun opponent because we never seen that. But I do agree, like, it'll have to probably happen next year. And if that window closes, I would not want to see another Steve Austin match.
Yeah, that's it. That's the only match left to do. That's the retirement match, buddy. Only 2 more. That's it. Don't do the Undertaker. Please don't go full Undertaker. We do have
I will disown Stone Cold if he did that.
We do have a super chat donation from the one and only I Make Beats. Happy birthday, I Make Beats, who says, gift to you. It's my birthday. Popped in to put myself over. As you should. I Make Beats, thank you so much for the super chat donation and a happy birthday shout out to one of you. Thank you so much for always being a great supporter of the channel and all of our streams and this flagship podcast here. Usually, I know if it wasn't your birthday, you would still be in the live chat, but I see you've already checked out to celebrate things. So appreciate you for checking in with us. You got a bunch of birthday love in the chat. Power Driver Finishers saying happy birthday, all celebrating their birthdays. Safet says happy birthday to I Make Beats. Dion says happy birthday to I Make Beats. We got Vala saying happy birthday to you. Davion saying happy birthday to you. Love all the love. Our chat is a great community, and I love everybody spreading the love there. But let's go into Monday Night Raw this week. Raw on Netflix. The last week's show did 2.7 million viewers, so down slightly from the June 9th episode. But this week's June 23rd episode featured Seth Rollins kicking off the show to talk about how he's behind everything great in WWE. Awful fucking promo. I'm not going to rant about it again. It sucked. It's the same shit, different day. I hated it. Okay, I did rant about it. This led to Braun Breaker beating Penta in a very good opener to the show. Meanwhile, you had Jade Cargill picked up a win over Roxanne Perez to advance to the Queen of the Ring finals against Asuka. She had a stare down with Asuka post-match. It was revealed that Dominic Mysterio suffered an injury that canceled his Intercontinental Championship matchup versus AJ Styles at Night of Champions. Sami Zayn had a confrontation with Karrion Kross to set up a match at the PLE Night of Champions, while the Raquel Rodriguez drove Rhea Ripley through a table with the help of Roxanne Perez to set up a street fight between the two for Night of Champions as well. Goldberg confirmed his World Heavyweight Championship matchup against Gunther at Saturday night's main event will be his retirement match. While Gunther cut a brilliant promo talking about how he will destroy the legacy of Goldberg at Saturday night's main event. Becky Lynch defeated Bayley via disqualification to retain the WWE Women's Intercontinental Championship thanks to outside interference from Lyra Valkyria. And Cody Rhodes beat Jey Uso in an excellent main event to advance to face Randy Orton in the King of the Ring finals at WWE Saturday night's main event as well. Any quick thoughts on Monday Night Raw this week?
Solid main event. I thought the main event was really good. The opening segment, the promo, I thought it sucked too. Same old shit. It's getting to that point. And besides that, I enjoyed watching Raw. It wasn't bad to me.
Yeah, I think I gave it a thumbs in the middle. I did not enjoy Raw as much as I've been enjoying it. I thought it was on the low end of the show since WrestleMania, mainly because of that Seth promo. I thought there was two great things on the show, and that was the main event and Gunther's promo.
Yeah, his promo was really good too. As far as the sit down with Goldberg, it's just like it's whatever to me. But it's kind of funny they had to like make it clear, like, oh, this is your retirement match, right? Because the previous week they didn't. So they were like, oh, wait, we got to mention it.
Very true. And we got some injury updates that we got to get into because Raw has got the injury bug real big right now, as though an injury forced him off of the Night of Champions card. Dominic Mysterio isn't expected to be out of action for long. Dominic Mysterio was supposed to defend his Intercontinental title against AJ Styles in Saudi Arabia yesterday, but WWE announced on Raw earlier this week that Dominic is dealing with an injury that caused the title match to be postponed. PW Insider reported that the injury is legit legit and it's a rib issue, which Dave Meltzer confirmed on the Wrestling Observer Radio. Meltzer described it as a minor injury and said that Dominic should not need to vacate the Intercontinental Championship. New date for the Dominic versus Styles title match has not yet been set, and this would have been his 4th title defense since winning the title at WrestleMania 41. But like from one lover to the other, Liv Morgan, meanwhile, is expected to be out of action for several months after suffering a dislocated shoulder on Raw 2 weeks ago. PW Insider reports that she has now undergone surgery to repair her shoulder. Additionally, physical therapist Kevin Wilk shared a message on Instagram regarding Morgan's recovery and surgery. He said, "Awesome honor and privilege to be helping at WWE superstar Liv Morgan with her shoulder rehabilitation. Fantastic athlete, dedicated, great to work with. This WWE superstar will be back and back even better. Outstanding athlete. Surgery performed by at Dugga MD1 of Andrew Sports and Medicine." And then finally, the most unfortunate news of the week, Chad Gable is dealing with an injury, according to a new report. Body Slam's Corey Haynes noted on Twitter that the Raw star has an undisclosed injury. No word on the details of how long it may keep Gable on the shelf. Gable was attacked by Penta on Monday's episode of Raw when he gave him the sacrifice backstage. PW Insider reports that Gable is set to have surgery to repair the injury in early July. Meanwhile, in a bizarre twist of fate, Fightful Select reports that El Grande Americano has a similar injury to that of Gable. Nothing suspicious about that at all. It's a total coincidence. There's no word on what will happen with the WWE Speed Championship, which Americano currently holds. According to an update from Fightful Select, Gable is expected to be out of action until late 2025 at minimum, and may be out for the rest of the year. Chad Gable reportedly had to been written out of television on Monday's episode of Raw. He last competed in the WWE Speed tapings. Oh, this is a weird report. They're saying by his alter ego, El Grande Americano, but they're two different people. It's totally weird. It's unknown that WWE will handle the Speed title situation with Americano and Gable out of action. What do you think about this injury swarm for Dominic, Liv, Chad Gable, and El Grande Americano?
I'm sorry, I laughed at the last part because it's just bad funny. I mean, it's unfortunate for Liv and Chad Gable, just because they were used a lot, and they were like not only used a lot, but they were kind of heavily used. So I mean, it hurts them in that aspect, because it wasn't like a situation where, oh yeah, they were barely on TV. Like, Chad Gable was doing something significant, and even though I think he should be doing more, or should have been doing more, this was a good thing that was going on for him, at least, especially character wise. So it was very unfortunate, and it's just like I didn't know the injury was legitimate. So obviously that hurts, both of them. As far as El Grande Americano, hopefully he gets deported by ICE, and call it a day.
Outrageous comment, sir. Outrageous. Oh man. The Wrestling Observer newsletter reports that WWE, there have been rumors that WWE is interested in Mystico following his appearance at Grand Slam Mexico for AEW.
Come the fuck on.
However, they have yet to make any effort to get him at this time. The Wrestling Observer newsletter notes that they have not heard of any orders from WWE to try to get the top stars of CMLL for Lucha Libre AAA. It was noted that if that does happen, it would likely happen after August. If WWE did go for top CMLL talent, Mystico would be at the top pick. He previously wrestled for the company under the mask of Sin Cara from 2011 to 2014. He said in a 2011 interview that he would like to go back so he could prove that he can be a star there. CMLL, though, is currently enjoying a boom, where Mystico is, of course, the top face of the company. I don't think it's going to happen for now. I wouldn't be surprised if it does happen in the future, but for now, I think everything's okay. Do you think that WWE is going to try to go after Mystico to bring the AAA?
Yeah, they'll try it. Just because it's WWE, they're gonna try anything, and because Mystico has had a boost of popularity within America, that's something they're gonna try to like bank on. But I think Mystico is in a great position. I think he's in a great spot right now, just because he's used not only multiple companies, but if there's a chance that he, kind of does sign with AEW, because that could be a possibility too. He'll be in a better position signing with AEW, obviously, because that bridge between CMLL and AEW, I think will be even stronger, because if he has two contracts, it works out for them, and he'll be like the example of that. So I think as far as WWE being interested, it's not surprising. They're going to try to do everything they did. It happened with Stephanie when she was the CMLL women's champion. It's not surprising, but I don't see him jumping ship, at least not anytime soon.
We shall see. We shall see. I wouldn't be surprised at anything WWE does nowadays, especially when it comes to trying to get into Mexico, because they wouldn't be they wouldn't have bought AAA without the intention to try to grab
trying to hurt the
some of the top talent.
Yeah, and that's going to be like their goal. They're going to try to hurt the other company in Mexico the same way they did with AEW. Yeah. So, it happens. It's a business.
It makes sense. It's WWE.
It's a business. Yeah. It's a as like demoralizing we could say it is, right? Like stuff like that. It's a business at the end of the day. People do it all the time, and it's the nature of the beast at this point.
It's like if you expect anything different from WWE, then you haven't been paying attention over the last couple of years. There we have it. But let's get into the final bit of news before we finish up things with WWE NXT as well as Evolve. But WWE superstar Karrion Kross has found himself in the news as of late, as he has been basically finally in a major matchup on a premium live event yesterday against Sami Zayn at Night of Champions. It was Kross' first WWE PLE appearance since last year's WrestleMania 40. However, a rumor surfaced from Wade Keller at PW Torch during the post-Raw podcast that the reason Kross doesn't get pushed on main roster television is because he doesn't like taking flat back bumps. Keller attributed Kross's lack of a push and TV time on the main roster to somebody wanting to work with him because nobody wanting to work with him because he doesn't like to take bumps. Keller stated that wrestlers told him about this when speaking about Kross and might not become a big star on the WWE main roster. He said on Kross, I talked about this when he was on All the Rage in NXT and coming out of TNA. I was like, wrestlers are telling me when he gets to the main roster, nobody's going to put up with the fact that he doesn't take bumps. He's scared to bump. He doesn't flat back bump. I don't know if he's got an injury or a concern. Kross favors one side, which can cause an injury. So I don't know if he has a pre-existing condition or he's just not comfortable taking bumps. I don't know. I don't have the inside story on that, but I know wrestlers who I chat with about things when I want wrestlers insight are like, oh, right, Wade, you're right when you say that Karrion Kross won't be a big star on the main roster, but one of the reasons you are missing out is just watch his next match. He doesn't really take bumps. In response to the rumors surfacing online this week, Fightful Select reports that in speaking to multiple producers of Kross's matches in WWE, they claimed the rumor of Kross not taking flatback bunts has never been an issue they've encountered with him. Kross as well laughed off the rumors in an interview with The National. He said on Wrestling in Saudi Arabia, I've wrestled once, I believe out of the 5 times I've been here, and it was against Drew McIntyre inside of a steel cage. The other times I've been here, I've been received so overwhelmingly warm and enthusiastic to the fans. I was surprised that because I'm not a hyper featured character in comparison to other characters in the show, you think that they would go 10 times crazier for them as opposed to me, just speaking with humility, but I've always been received really well by the fans. On the rumors he won't take flatback bumps, he said, I thought out of all the crazy articles that have been fabricated about me every week, that was the weakest, laughing. There was another wild one I saw last week that was even funnier. It was something like Karrion Kross is going to come to Monday Night Raw and he's going to quit and do a shoot promo live and then walk out. I thought that was a good one, but I don't really respond to any of them. That's a crazy one about me every week or two, and you just kind of have to laugh. So, what do you think about the Karrion Kross flat back bump epidemic? I think you're muted. So.
It's something that I've heard myself.
Hey, you're good.
No. Oh no. So it's something that I've heard for a while. So, I mean, I'm not surprised. I think I'm breaking up. My Wi-Fi kind of sucks right now.
You're good now. You're good now, I think.
All right. No, I was saying like it's something that I've heard about for a long time. So it's not the first time that this has come up. Karrion Kross, I mean, I like him. You know, I think he's cool. But there are things that I've heard about. Like I've heard that. I've heard he has issues with like blading. So this is something that's not exactly new. But I don't think it's a situation where it's like he doesn't like doing it. I just think, I don't know what it is. I think he gets concerned about certain things. So I think they're kind of blowing it in a way of like, oh, he just doesn't like doing it. I don't think that's the case. I just think he is somebody who's concerned. Obviously, injuries. You know, he did deal with that shoulder injury when he faced Keith Lee. So, you know, he might be somebody that cares about that stuff. And I think it's okay to care about that. But again, I don't think it's something necessarily that, you know, it could hurt him as a big push because these are things that you need to do. You're kind of required to do these kind of things. But, you know, on my end, like I said, these are things I have heard about even since his Impact days. But, you know, if anything improves on Saturday, if he could do it and he took, 6 bumps, then that's all he really has to do. He just has to keep doing it. And, you know, that's how that's how you prove people wrong. And he just has to keep doing it. I don't think one match proves anything. He just has to consistently do it. But also, he needs opportunities to have matches to even get that opportunity. So, you know, it is what it is.
Yeah, you have to wrestle matches to actually have this allegation make sense. But just watching main event, why would I take a bunch of bumps on fucking main event?
Main event.
So, yeah.
I mean, that's true. Like, come on. Right? Main event.
Let's actually be concise with what we're complaining about here. WWE NXT this week, they were up big in the ratings. They did 729,000 viewers. The show featured Trick Williams beating Josh Briggs in a good opener to retain the TNA World Championship. Post-match, Joe Hendry came out to confront and brawl with Trick. Channing Stacks Lorenzo, he picked up a win over Tony D'Angelo to win the NXT Heritage Cup thanks to an accidental bucket shot by Luca Crucifino on Tony D. Tony D punched Luca in the post-match. Javon Evans beat Tavion Heights for Heights to stay in the no quarter catch crew, but he was jumped from behind post-match by LFG winner, the Monster, the Reaper, Jasper Troy. Speaking of Troy, Obafemi, NXT champion, had a confrontation with Yoshihiki Inamura, who stepped up to be his next challenger for the NXT championship. But Inamura was attacked by Jasper Troy, and he had a stare down with Oba after that. This sets up Jasper Troy versus Inamura for a number one contenders matchup. The winner faces Obafemi at Great American Bash. Yes, they finally remembered that they have a show that's going head to head with AEW All In Texas, and they will announce their first match 10 days before the show. Yes, they really care about this show.
We're ridiculous. Fucking ridiculous.
Ricky Saints defeated Ashanti the Adonis. A post-match, Ethan Page attacked Saints from behind, laying him out with Twisted Grin. And finally, Jordan Grace beat Izzy Dame and Jada Parker and a Lash legend in a very good 4-way number one contenders match for Grace to advance to face JC Jane for the NXT Women's Championship at WWE Evolution. So we got our first match announced for Evolution before the first match for Great American Bash. That's a day before that.
Oh my god! Oh my god! Yo, what? Oh, you could tell this shit was not planned. None of this shit was planned.
Nope. They're kind of just making it so obvious this was a counter program. They're not even trying to hide it. They're usually better at hiding this type of stuff.
This is so bad. This is like, it's gross. I feel gross.
Like, I wasn't interested in Great American Bash to begin with, but they're not giving me any reason to care about it.
Like Jasper Troy again, and that first match with Oprah was like,
that was really good. That was a hoss fight. I loved it.
Yeah, I mean, it was decent, but you could tell like
you can tell me nothing wrong about Jasper Troy. Jasper Troy is my boy. He's following me on Twitter. He's my guy.
Oh, you see, I mean, that's different then. So, I mean, yeah,
he's my guy.
You could tell like
Tyra May Steele. She went one step further. She followed not only me but us on Twitter. Tyra May Steele. She's trying to make us an unapologetic Tyra May Steele podcast, which we are now officially. Her, Carmelo Hayes, Thunder Rosa. These are all the wrestlers that follow us on Twitter. So we're unapologetically going to be in support of them.
That's true. I agree with that. I can't hate on that. It's just, they brought up this guy and then like, oh yeah, number one contenders match. And then it's like 10 days before. It's like, how is this going to be interesting? Like, and even the venue, they have a 700 seat venue and they still not sold out. So it's like, you could tell like this shit was like so thrown in last minute. Hey, let's just do this. It's like I got no. I mean, I've never had interest, but it's like you guys are not doing a great job trying to convince me to watch. Like,
not even trying that well. Carl Fredericks, who was formerly Eddie Thorpe of NXT, he found himself in the news this week as he revealed that he asked for his WWE NXT release. Fredericks worked in NXT as Eddie Thorpe and was among those who were let go in early May. Fredericks posted to Twitter on Sunday to comment on his release, retweeting a comment from a fan praising him for his social media activity. He says, I asked for my release from WWE so I could do something fucking meaningful with my life. In a follow-up post responding to a fan who joked that WWE would have had him do a set with Israeli DJ Yusuf Asav Bokur at Night of Champions, he said in response, no, WWE wouldn't let me DJ for free in Vegas Mania weekend, while other talent got to make money on their outside ventures. So he's been very vocal about his departure from WWE, so we'll keep you posted on any further comments. And someone who's coming back into the WWE umbrella is Vicky Guerrero. She has said that they will be doing some work with WWE soon, according to a new report. Fightful Select reports that Guerrero was told multiple people that she would be back working with WWE on some things in a few weeks. The report notes that the bookings were not explicitly said, but it pointed that WWE Evolution is in a few weeks on July 13th. To be clear, this is no confirmation that Guerrero will appear at the event. The report from Fightful goes on to say that Guerrero has maintained a positive relationship with WWE, and she was most recently in attendance of her WWE TV for SmackDown's return to the USA Network last year. She was with AEW from 2019 to 2023 before her contract expired and was not renewed. After her AEW exit, Guerrero was embroiled in controversy after her daughter Charlene accused her stepfather Chris Benson of sexual assault during a cruise just before COVID lockdowns. While Shaw and Chavo Guerrero both showed support to Charlene, Vicky Guerrero issued a statement with Benson denying Charlene's allegations, in addition to a statement by Guerrero accusing Charlene of lying and threatening to see you in court while disowning her. So, not the most non-controversial figure to bring back into the fold, but that kind of seems like WWE's right up their alley, right?
Yeah, and then also, Vicky is MAGA, so it's like it makes sense.
All of this makes a lot of sense. And finally, from WWE at WWE Evolve this week, the show featured Kylie Ray picking up a win over Wendy Chu in a fun last woman standing main event. Kendall Gray beat Zara Zakher. Keanu Carver secured a victory over Ice Williams, while Dante Chen debuted on Evolve as a new assignee on the Evolve roster before Idris Anobi came out to interrupt and attack Dante, turning heel in the process. Now we're finally done with some WWE. We can move over to AEW. AEW had a busy week as we had Saturday Collision last Saturday, June 21st, which featured Timeless Toni Storm with an excellent promo where she told Mercedes Moné she wasn't some other motherfucker and that she had to kill her to beat her at All In Texas. Jon Moxley picked up a win over AR Fox in dominating fashion. Post-match, Mox cut a promo on Hangman Adam Page, wanting him to bring it at All In Texas and don't be on his crybaby cowboy crap. Swerve, you had FTR and Proto Sheeta picking up a win over Paragon, Daniel Garcia, and Bandito in a very fun all-star 8-man tag team matchup. Swerve Strickland beat Shane Taylor in a hilarious bout that was the blackest thing in wrestling this year, that saw Prince Nana and the Infantry taking bets during the matchup while drinking Hennessy, and got Tony Schiavone and the fans to bet on the matchup with real money. This was amazing. And it's made me part of the set with Shane Taylor Promotions because the Infantry enjoyed me and Cresta Star's commentary on this whole matchup on Fightful. So shout outs to the captain, Sean Dean, and Carly Bravo. They're real ones. Jet Speed picked up a win over Gates of Agony in a solid bout, while Athena, Tekla, Penelope Ford, and Megan Bain picked up a win over Thunder Rosa, Queen Aminata, and Ty J, thanks to an assist from Red Velvet in a pretty good all-star 8-woman tag main event. And then we move over to Dynamite this past Wednesday. They did 613,000 viewers. Collision last Saturday did 426,000 viewers, but Dynamite this week, the show featured Mercedes Moné attacking Timeless Toni Storm to open the show until Mina Shirakawa made the save. Moné will now defend the TBS Championship against Shirakawa on next week's Dynamite 300th episode. Swerve Strickland and Will Ospreay defeated Blake Christian and Lee Johnson in a good opener after the Young Bucks pushed the start of their matchup. Post-match, Swerve and Ospreay tried to go after the Bucks, but security got in between them. Then Swerve and Ospreay challenged Matthew and Nicholas to face them at All In Texas, but they wanted to up the ante and have the Bucks put their EVP titles on the line. Finally, Swerve delivered the Swerve Stomp on the pile of security and officials, causing the Bucks to suspend him for the week without pay. Kota Ibushi made his return in a win over Trent Beretta in a solid bout. Post-match, Kazuchika Okada confronted Ibushi to set up a bout for next week's Dynamite 300 as well. Jet Speed beat Ricochet and AR Fox in a fun tag team matchup. Post-match, Jet Speed issued a challenge to the Hurt Syndicate for the AEW World Tag Team titles at All In Texas. Hurt Syndicate attacked Speedball and Kevin Knight after that and put them through a table. This led to MJF cutting a promo about getting a Casino Gauntlet qualifier next week until Mark Briscoe interrupted, leading to an hilarious back and forth between the two, where Briscoe said Max is overcompensating for having a little kosher pickle in his pants. Then Briscoe defeated Roderick Strong, Bandito, and Konosuke Takeshita in a terrific 4-way to earn the #1 spot in the men's Casino Gauntlet. Meanwhile, Chris Statlander for the woman, she beat Willow Nightingale, Athena, Thunder Rosa, and a very good 4-way to earn the #1 spot in the women's Casino Gauntlet, thanks to an assist from Marina Shafir and Wheeler Yuta of the Death Riders. Jon Moxley cut a promo once again on Hangman Adam Page about his insecurities and past trauma that will stop him from beating him at All In Texas. Later, we saw Hangman pick up a win over the Beast Mortos in a very good main event. Post-match, the Young Bucks came out to deliver an EVP trigger to Page before Jon Moxley and the Death Riders arrived for Mox to choke out Hangman with the steel chain until the Ops and Ospreay came out to make the save to close the show. I thought it was a very good episode of Collision, a very good setup, maintenance episode of Dynamite this week on the road to All In Texas. So all in all, between the two shows, good stuff from AEW with those two shows, and we'll get into Thursday Night Collision as well. But before that, what did you think about last Saturday's Collision and this past Wednesday on Dynamite?
Last Collision before that, I thought it was good. Obviously the highlight was the whole Shane Taylor promotion and Nana gambling, placing bets, and then the fact they got Tony Schiavone involved. I was like, oh my god, what's going on right now? That was probably the best part for me. But I thought they've been doing a solid job, not only connecting the shows, but building up to All In. So it's been pretty cool to see that, because that's what we've been wanting, and I think they've been doing a solid job doing that. Dynamite was really good too. Again, it's all about building up, to All In, because they got how many episodes of Dynamite left to that? Two more, right? So I think they've been doing a good enough job to, they're building up to that. I thought like the opening segment, it was a match, but it was funny that how they had them rush, like they were getting ready for the matches, and that played into it. But the fact that they had the stipulation added for the match, the tag match, which I'm pretty excited about, Young Bucks versus Swerve and Ospreay. Obviously, we want like Swerve and Ospreay to be singles matches, but they're facing the Young Bucks. So I think that's going to be a banger of a match, honestly. But the fact that the stipulation is the EVP titles, I didn't expect that. So that plays. It's very interesting that they're using that. And again, the closing segment, I thought was great. I thought they played that off very well. And with Hangman Page, I stood by this, and I told Wendy this, where I'm like, the stuff that they've been doing, Hangman has been, to me, has been the best part of wrestling this year. And any company, it's been fun. And, I stand by that. If I got to die on that hill, I'll die on that hill. But I think the stuff that they've been doing with Hangman this year has been the best thing in any company that I've been really enjoying the most.
Hey, the redemption arc is probably the best story currently in AEW, so I can't say you're wrong. I've been seeing a lot more people who's convinced themselves that the Death Riders thing was worth it, and that Jon Moxley has kind of elevated the prestige of the AEW title because he's made the fans want somebody to beat him for it so they can see the title again and it can come out the briefcase. So I understand that argument. Do I agree with it? No. But I understand that argument.
I understand the argument, but I just don't.
I think that the whole Moxley conversation, the right way to think about it is someplace in the middle. There are some people that have been completely turned off by Moxley and his reign. There's some people that are trying to convince themselves it's worked and that it's been the best for AEW because it has seen some growth in the audience and people watching, which always those numbers don't add up when it comes to Moxley's segments in particular. I think they're giving Moxley credit for something that he's not responsible for. I think someplace in the middle where it has worked to make people interested in somebody beating him for the title, which should mostly be the case of a long-term heel champion. But it's not been all good.
Yeah, and and we've been on here and we call it like it is. We have said like, yeah, the Death Riders at times have been the worst thing on AEW TV, and that wasn't done purposely. It was done in a way that they thought, the top boss thought that would be the best thing, and it wasn't clicking with fans. It wasn't, because we had a certain vision, and that vision wasn't being met, for what they were doing, right? company takeover, doing this and that, and we never really saw that. So we got to call it like it is. When it's bad, it's bad, and there was a lot of months that it was bad, but they've done a better job navigating the situation. Sometimes that's what you got to do. You got to navigate it, and now you're looking back, hindsight 2020. I think it's easier for people to say like, "Oh, it's all worth it." I don't know about that because it was still bad. There was still a lot of it that was bad. But again, they've done a better job navigating, as in, the ops being involved made it better, in my opinion, because there was a balance there. And then having Joe back on TV did help. And, everybody loves Samoa Joe. But then also making Hangman that person to go after the title, it means something. Like, you see the reaction, it means something. And, it's elevated not only his character, but it's just the overall feeling is, it feels like it's there again. So, in that aspect, you could probably give some credit to the fights for turning things around, but I'm not going to be one of those where it's like, oh yeah, this was always the plan. This was always meant to happen, because it's just, like Adam Copeland and Death Right, that was bad. Like, we got to call it like it is. That was bad.
Exactly. We got Clown, who I guess is answering what you said about Hangman's redemption arc being the best thing for you in wrestling this year. We got him saying Atticus Cogar's return to GCW and KJ Orso killing Fiego and turning his back on Sam Stackhouse, I guess, is his favorite thing. My favorite thing in wrestling this year has been Timeless Tony Storm. Full stop. Her promo on Collision last week, oh my God. Chef's kiss. She's the best promo, best character, best women's wrestler in the game today.
Yeah, and what I love about that for Tony is, like, we've been on here, we praise Tony for what she's been doing, but the fact that now she's reaching new layers of the character, right? Because we kind of know what she's going for, but the fact that she's reaching new layers, like, she's been on this Carmen Sandiego look, right? And it feels different a little bit, where it's like she's still being herself, being kind of like crazy on the microphone, saying crazy shit, but it's working. Like, she's finding new ways to, like, keep the character, but adding touches and adding things to the character that's making it not only fresh, keeping it fresh, but entertaining, to the point that when she gets on TV, she's gonna say something fucking insane. It was on the microphone, it was on commentary. That's what I've been loving about the character as well.
Yes. And we got a super chat donation. Thank you so much from Chuck Berries. We appreciate the love and support. He says, guys, slap me with some common sense, but I truly believe that Mina will defeat Mercedes this Wednesday. I wish you were right in front of me so I could be like, shut the fuck up. What the hell are you talking about? Yes, Dion wants to call himself out. Yes, I did call you out, because that makes no sense. The reason why this is the biggest and greatest women's match of all time at All In Texas is because Mercedes has all the titles, because Mercedes is undefeated in AEW. Why is that even a thought in your mind? That Mina, like Jimmy Macaram said it best. Some of y'all are not thinking with the right head. Y'all are thinking with the one in your pants. If you think Mina Shirakawa is going to defeat Mercedes Moné and basically hurt the build to All In Texas, when it's all about Toni Storm could eventually be the first woman to beat Mercedes in AEW. And Mercedes is about collecting another belt to her collection. That's what the story has been about this whole time. Why would you hurt that by having Mina Shirakawa defeat her? Am I saying that Tony wouldn't do that? No. Tony has made dumb decisions in the past, and he could make another one on Wednesday. So you're not completely wrong, but it's stupid to believe that.
So, I love Mina. I think she's a beautiful woman. And I think she's really improved in the ring. But that's insane. And I'm glad you said that in the super chat, because, man, that's a crazy thing to even think that she's beating Mercedes 9 or 10 days before All In. You're going to have Mercedes lose her first match to get pinned against Mina Shirakawa? before her big matchup with Tony Storm. Oh boy, I wonder where you got that GPS navigation from, because man, that's Chuck Berry's is really good. He's usually very good with his thing. I this one didn't hit, bro. Yeah, that's all I gotta say to that.
King of the North said it best. He said that's some Vince McMahon banana peel booking. 2 weeks? Like, if this was a month before the show, maybe you should believe that. Maybe you need to, like, you could say, I can see it. I can see it. And I probably would be there. Yeah, Tony would do something like that. I can see Tony doing that. But 2 weeks before the show? This would be one of the dumbest decisions Tony Khan has done this year. And he's done a few. We got Davion who agrees, saying Mina winning the TBS championship does not make sense right now. I agree. We got Chuck Berry saying, "Thanks, guys. I really needed that." See, I'm here. We here for you, Chuck Berries, and we say it like you a cousin. You a cousin who's about to do drugs on his like 2 hours before work. You about to do some cocaine 2 hours before work, and we're like, "Yo, just don't
fucking do that." It's like don't do it.
Just go to work. Just go to work.
It's like, yeah, don't do that.
We got Scarlett who says Canelo or Crawford. You're more of a fight fan. I'm just gonna go Canelo.
Canelo. I mean, that's random, but Canelo.
It is random, but hey, we like to feature the comments here. Yes, Kadenor says we took his keys away after him having 4 drinks at the barbecue. No, I mean, no. Like I said, Dion. Like I said, it is possible. It is possible, but we shouldn't be suggesting it or saying that we believe it's going to happen, because that's the wrong decision. We should want AEW to make the right decision, not believe they will make a wrong decision. That's what we're trying to tell you.
Yeah, it's one of those things where it's like, could it happen? Possibly. We're not disagreeing, but it's just the timing of it is such bad timing that it's like, this is not what you need before your biggest show of the year. While you guys have been doing great moving tickets, you sold like 3,000 tickets maybe the last 2 weeks. So this is something that's like, you don't need something like that right now, especially when especially the build up for both ladies have been really great. You don't need Mercedes to have her first loss right before her biggest matchup to date.
And speaking of the All In tickets, the Wrestling Observer newsletter had updated ticket sale numbers for AEW All In Texas on July 12th from Globe Life Field. There are currently around 19,000 paid, which is slightly higher than the last update from WrestleTix, which was 18,574. The get-in price on the secondary market is $35. That would be a live gate of 2.5 million, and this will double AEW's previous Best North American gate, which was Forbidden Door 2023 in Toronto and had 1.25 million. That was the largest non-WWE wrestling gate in North America. AEW could also end up beating the record for the largest non-WWE pay-per-view attendance, currently held by WCW Slamboree 1999. That event took place at the TWA Dome in St. Louis, bringing in 2,516. The paid attendance was 13,789, with 6,727 free tickets distributed. This will be the third largest attended AEW event in history, behind the 2 All-In events at Wembley Stadium. So good news when it comes to there, and we'll keep you updated on how the ticket sales are going, but it looks like they will probably reach the 2,000 mark, or at least a little bit over that by the time the show goes on.
Mark?
I think that's a safe bet. That's a safe bet for that.
They're gonna do it, because I think with AEW they usually do like their best numbers like the last like 2 weeks or so when it comes to like pay-per-view ticket sales. So I think they're in a good spot, especially a lot of my friends when they saw like I made a post about something. all of a sudden, right after, my boy was like, "Oh, I just bought my ticket because of you," and I'm like, "What the fuck did I do that you bought your ticket? Like, what did I say?"
You're helping AEW. Look at you, sir.
That was crazy. I was like, "Wait, what?" I was like, "Wait, what?" I was like, "You got you booked your flight and everything?" He said, "Yeah," and then he showed me the proof, and I was like, "What the fuck?"
We got King of the North saying they need to make that MJF Mystico hair versus mask match announcement and going to hit like crack rock. Hopefully Mystico gets his revenge for what we're going to break up a little bit here on Dynamite this week. Avoids MJF making it for sure in the Casino Gauntlet, and that we might be on track for that. But AEW has been very conservative when it comes to signing new people on the heels of Swerve Strickland saying that signing for AEW should be like signing for the Los Angeles Lakers. There's now somewhat of an update on AEW's policy on bringing in prospective talent, particularly former WWE names. When asked about AEW having an eye on released WWE talent, Sean Ross Sapp of Fightful Select said that Tony Khan's promotion is being way more picky with ex-WWE stars. SRS pointed out how we've previously seen such talents come into All Elite Wrestling, not be happy with the AEW process, leave the company, and eventually return to WWE. Sapp did add how there will be some former WWE talent who end up in AEW, but it's not going to be a huge amount. While no particular talents were named here, Aleister, Malachi Black, and Rusev Miro immediately jump out as two names who were released by AEW this year and returned to WWE, with both men being granted their releases after becoming unhappy in AEW. William Regal and Sean Spears are another couple of names who come to mind as talent who were released by WWE, signed by AEW, and then eventually exited the company and headed back to the market leader. As for released WWE stars that AEW has signed up over the years, there are countless names who have been let go by WWE only to make their way to Tony Khan's company. For a quick look through AEW's lifespan, there's been the likes of Jake Hager, Saraya, CJ Perry, Mark Henry, the Hardys, Bobby Fish, and Parker Bordeaux as just some of the released WWE talent to become All Elite, only to then depart AEW down the line. None of those names have yet to resurface in WWE per the Hardys, who did make appearances with the working relationship with TNA. Tony Khan has shared his thoughts on the free agent market and the perception that AEW is a place for WWE talent to go. He spoke with the Battleground podcast and was asked about free agents, speaking about the company as a possible new home after exiting WWE. He says there is a very good perception about AEW in 2025. The company is doing great shows. This feels like the best year ever in AEW. This whole year has been a huge uptick for AEW on TV, and when you factor in the additional fans watching on streaming on the simulcast, it's just going fantastic for us. There is a great perception about AEW, and it's a great time to work here. It's a lot of fun. It's a fun place to work. It's a great place to apply to your trade as a wrestler, and we're looking for the very best. This is where the best wrestle, and AEW has the best wrestlers in the world, and we want to keep it that way. It's a very high bar to reach this roster, and we want to maintain the quality. WWE has made a number of roster cuts in 2025, with several talents saying that they would be interested in coming to AEW, including Aleister Black and Shotzi Blackheart. On the page of AEW shows, Fightful Select had a recent update regarding the recent run of AEW shows, and according to the report, there have been very positive reactions behind the scenes in AEW following the company's recent run of big shows. Additionally, the company reportedly considered the recent month stretch of multiple 4-hour broadcasts, Grand Slam Mexico, and this coming week's 300 episode of Dynamite as one of the most important TV runs in AEW history. AEW recently made its debut at Arena Mexico, and the show was a reported sellout. AEW holds its TV tapings for the 300th episode of Dynamite and the 100th episode of Collision this coming week in Ontario, California at the Toyota Arena. The promotion is also on its way to All In Texas. What do you think about AEW's new approach to free agency with former WWE stars, as well as their recent run of shows with the 2 4-hour blocks and Grand Slam Mexico?
In regards to like the process now when it comes to like WWE release talents and AEW being interested, I think it's a good approach. This is something that they've needed. because obviously you're always going to, talents are always going to jump, to whatever company, right? But it's also a matter of, all right, if we're going to sign this person, what are we really going to do with them? I don't want to be in a situation where they're signing talent to the point that it's like, all right, we're signing them just for what? Because what we're doing with them. So I think he's being more careful, which is it's the right move. You just don't sign talent just to sign them. You know what I mean? And I felt like a lot of the people that did get released, that was the case. In a lot of like Miro, there's things that we could have seen with Miro, but then obviously like what ended up happening because he wasn't happy with creative. Malachi Black, he had his storyline with Cody Rhodes, and then they put him with a stable. Nothing happened really much after that because of how he was. He was very nonchalant about things. So I think they're doing the due diligence. Not everybody needs to be signed. Like, let's be real. Like, not everybody has to, not everybody has to be in AEW because they're a former WWE talent. So I think him being careful is better. I like that approach. Sign a talent you feel like is gonna like do something. I'm not saying like, oh yeah, they're gonna draw, whatever the case may be. But if you're gonna hire talent, make sure you use their strengths very well to the point that it's like, like Ricochet. You sign Ricochet and it's worked out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Stuff like that. So you got to be more mindful when it comes to that. And I believe that he's being more mindful. We kind of seen it this year. They've been, they signed Speedball, Josh Alexander. They weren't really signing WWE people. So they've been doing what they've been saying, right? As far as like the run of shows, I've been liking it. I like the schedule, the way they set up. It helps the talent a lot because they're not, imagine flying in on Wednesdays, doing the show, then flying back home, and then you got to fly out again on Friday to do the Saturday show. When it comes to stuff like that, like more than eternal stuff, that's good. I've been liking the runs, especially like again when we talked about Mexico, Grand Slam Mexico. It feels good. Like those were good shows. I've been liking the stuff they've been doing, but also most importantly, it's good that talent is happy. You want to make your talent happy. These were some of the things they did suggest about scheduling, and they've been accommodating talent a lot. So, I mean, it's been fun, and you're kind of seeing it with the product of, people enjoying it. You're seeing it within talent. Obviously, there are things that, unfortunately it happens. There's people who want to see certain wrestlers and you're not going to see them because of storylines or whatever the case may be. Unfortunately, that part happens, and that's kind of one of those things where it's like, you want to see more people like Deanna. I would love to see Deanna more, but
Yeah.
But it's one of those things where it's like, if she's not being used right now, she's not being used. But I also understand her frustration if she speaks up. She has every right to do that. But you're not going to make everybody happy, no matter what. No matter what you do, you're not going to make everybody happy. But if the overall vibes are a good thing for your fans and for the most of the talent, then just keep going with that formula. But you also got to find a way to navigate things, bring people back in, things like that. So whatever it may be.
You gotta find the right balance. Everything's about balance in pro wrestling right now. So yeah. I think there is a bunch of talent that they can feature more, but they got to find a spot for them. So hopefully they'll figure it out as time goes on.
Yeah.
But final AEW news note before we finish up with Collision this week. A new report had some details on the igniting of a new feud on AEW television between Maxwell Jacob Freeman and Mark Briscoe on this week's episode of Dynamite with their back and forth promo segment between them. Fightful Select reports that this was a storyline that MJF has been pushing for quite some time, and that it's one that is considered important for him. In related news, MJF's girlfriend Alicia took to Twitter to respond to Briscoe saying that MJF had a tiny kosher pickle by writing, "Whoa, let's get one thing straight. It's absolutely a kosher pickle, but it's definitely not tiny at the MJF." So sticking up for her man there. But I loved the segment on Wednesday, and I was like, this just makes sense. You have Mark Briscoe, who's incredibly happy, who's incredibly beloved by the fans, so popular, but he always loses. And then you got MJF, who's the consummate heel who always wins. This is a match made in heaven.
Yeah, and I like the fact that to hear that MJF is the one that picked that out. I think that's pretty cool because you don't hear a lot of stuff like from MJF about that. But the fact he wants to work with Mark Briscoe should tell you something about the man.
Yep. Everybody wants to work with Mark Briscoe. It's a no-brainer. And I agree with King of the North, who says signing talent who actually want to be there. That's a smart way to go about things. Just smart business there. And King of the North says Diana bombed in her one Arena Mexico appearance was very bad. I didn't see it, so I'll take your word for it.
But my thing was more about like her AEW stuff. Like, she wants to be used more, and she's been outspoken about it, and she has every right to be outspoken. It's a thing. I think two things could be right at the same time.
Yeah. And then finally, Claudio Castagnoli has not appeared on recent episodes of AEW television and was pulled from last week's Grand Slam Mexico. According to the Wrestling Observer newsletter, Castagnoli was granted time off. It was noted that he is missing television for a negative reason. He's not missing television for a negative reason, such as an injury, business issue, or his name being mentioned on WWE TV. So that's a good thing. And he's expected to be back before All In Texas. So we'll see when he does make his return. And then finally, you had Thursday Night Collision this week, as that show did not do well in the ratings. It did 285,000 viewers on a new night. The show did feature, though, Mercedes Moné responding to Timeless Toni Storm, saying that she's not to be fucked with, and how Toni is just a stupid act while she's the real deal. Then Toni responded with a promo backstage, being extremely pissed off after being attacked by Mercedes on Dynamite, before Mina Shirakawa asked Timeless Toni to not get involved in her TBS title match on Dynamite 300, which Toni agreed to. So this is setting up for Mercedes to beat Mina alive right in front of Toni to heat up this matchup. Not Mina beat Mercedes, you guys. FTR called out the Outrunners to have an in-ring confrontation to kick off the show, telling them that the fans would turn on them just like they did to Dax and Cash. This led to the Outrunners cutting a spirited babyface promo about wanting to wrestle and whoop FTR's ass, setting up a tag team matchup for next week's Collision 100 episode. Speaking of the tag team division, the Patriarchies, Christian Cage and Nick Wayne, beat Big Bill and Brian Keefe of the Learning Tree in the opening matchup. After the match, MVP confronted Christian and warned him about coming after the AEW World Tag Team Championships, which Christian responded by referencing that that MVP is a criminal and should not be listened to.
Oh my God.
But Brody King and Templario picked up a win over Rocky Romero and Hechicero of the Don Callis family in a very good matchup. You also had Adam Cole beat Josh Alexander in a decent bout to retain the TNT Championship. Queen Aminata secured a victory over Sky Blue. Post-match Blue, Julia Hart and Tekla jumped Aminata until Ty J made the save before Megan Bain and Penelope Ford came down to stare down at all the women to preview the Women's Casino Gauntlet. You also had the Battle of the Kyles in the main event, as Kyle Fletcher defeated Kyle O'Reilly in a great main event to the show that featured some of the most hilarious chants in regards to both competitors having the first name Kyle, like "We Kyle people," and whose house? Kyle's house.
Oh my God.
"We Kyle people" is one of the funniest shits I've ever heard a fans chant for a wrestling match. "We Kyle people. We Kyle people. Holy Kyle. Holy Kyle." Like, these fans had watched 4 hours of wrestling and they were most excited for a battle of two guys named Kyle.
Two great workers too, so that helps.
Yeah, they actually got into the matchup as well. It wasn't just chance for the hell of it because their names was Kyle. They actually got into the matchup as well.
Yo, that's funny, yo.
We Kyle people. We Kyle people.
Oh my God.
That owned. That owned so hard. I loved it. I loved every minute of it. I think we got a couple of comments here. Adam, God damn it. We got King of the North who says Adam Cole is a war criminal. Why are you calling people war criminals? God damn.
Like, damn, what the fuck? Yo, what's going on?
He says Collision rating wasn't great, but the NBA draft was on the same night. On the same night seemed like a big deal. Yeah, usually sports have a bigger effect on AEW than even WWE. It seems like it hurts their ratings a lot more. So a lot of crossover, I guess. But we got some news in regards to what's gonna go down at All In Texas. As far as what's not gonna happen is the reunion of Cope and Christian. As that has been the question for months. Could Cope and Christian Cage reunite as a tag team in AEW? The working plan was for the multi-time WWE Tag Team Champions to join forces against FTR at All In on July 12th. However, it was reported earlier this month that there had been issues preventing that match from going ahead. In an update, Fightful Select noted that a reunion is still in the works, but it may not happen by the time of All In. Per the report, Christian wants to make sure that things with the patriarchy stable are fleshed out, which has caused some slowdown for several performers in regards to this matchup they were expected to have against FTR. Christian has wrestled on this week's Collision, but before then hadn't wrestled since Revolution, where he competed in a three-way for the AEW World title with Jon Moxley and Cope, but has remained a fixture on AEW TV in the time since. The Rated R superstar Cope, meanwhile, was written off television by FTR at Dynasty on April 4th. The 41-year-old has talked about retiring when his current AEW contract expires around October 2026. The last time Cope and Christian teamed up was against Alberto Del Rio and Brodus Clay on March 28, 2011 edition of WWE Raw. What do you think about Christian slowing down the plans for Cope and Christian reunion? I'm not gonna front. I do think that the matchup, if it was made for All In, it would help the ticket sales. But I'm also on the side of Christian, where it felt like it would be too soon to have them reunite.
Yeah, but then also, like, I do agree with that. I do agree 100%. But then also, it's a situation where, you bring back Adam Copeland and then you have him team up with Christian, but then it's like, we're going to forget that these motherfuckers just had like a feud between them, and that was Adam Copeland's first feud, and then now all of a sudden they're just joining forces out of nowhere, where there's like no storyline, there's no, it kind of just came together. I get it. Edge and Christian have a big history, so it's kind of like you could go by off of that, but at the same time, it's like these guys had a major feud in AEW. Like, let's not forget that. That alone kind of just like checks me out. It's like I necessarily don't need it for All In, but I do agree with Christian that certain things need to be worked on, needs to be fleshed out within what he's doing. And I think that makes sense because he hasn't really been wrestling either. So, he's not 100% wrong.
Yeah, he wants to finish his story with Nick Wayne, which I think he's right to do. And he must have watched that Moxley feud and was like, yeah, I'm good. I'm good for now. I'm good for now, Cole. I'm good. But someone who may not be coming back so soon is Chris Jericho. He has been absent from AEW television since losing the Ring of Honor World title at Dynasty. He had a big falling out with the Learning Tree and left TV in part due to his tour with Fozzy. However, he also felt it was a right time to take a break. The Wrestling Observer newsletter reports that the Fozzy tour has ended, so Jericho is free to return. He is said to be waiting for a storyline to bring him back from Tony Khan. Meanwhile, Fozzy will tour again February 6th through the 21st in the UK. If he has returned by then, he will miss several shows. So maybe Tony's waiting until next year, I guess. I don't know, but I haven't missed him, so he needs to stay out longer.
Same.
Yeah. Bodyslam.net's Mark O'Brien reports that AEW created 2 different tag team titles within the past year, but both are being said to be sitting on the shelf. Sources within the company claim that AEW created intergenerational tag team titles, which part would be for father and son pairs. That's reportedly what led to more on-screen focus on Christian Cage and Nick Wayne, and why Billy Gunn was given more focus with the Acclaim and Anthony Bowens. There were also plans for real father and son teams, such as Ricky and Kerry Morton, as well as Kerry Von Erich teaming with one of his sons. There was even a Jurassic Express reunion suggested, although it's unclear how that relates to it. As far as Cage and Wayne, the original plans for the pair had them teaming against the Hurt Syndicate, only for one to turn on the other during a title match. It is said to be part of a wider plan. Meanwhile, the company has created women's tag team championships. Both sets of belts have been around for a year, but unused at this point. When do you think they're going to bring in the women's tag team championships? And what do you think about the concept of intergenerational tag team championships? That just seems redundant. I feel like you should just win the tag team titles, if that. There shouldn't be intergenerational tag team titles. That's way too many tag team titles.
Yeah, and the idea, honestly, I'm gonna be very blunt. I think it's pretty fucking stupid. What's the what? Like, come on, like it's dumb as fuck. I don't need those. You just win the fucking tag team titles. That's it. That's all you need. Maybe that's why it's on the shelf, because it's probably never gonna come out to the day of light. Keep it locked up. As far as the women's tag team titles, I really wouldn't want it, to be honest with you, just because I think when it comes to women's tag team wrestling, there's not a lot that we see of it. There's not a lot of women tag teams per se, and that's anywhere. WWE, anywhere. Yeah. At most, you could say TNA. TNA has done a better job when it comes to like women tag teams and putting them together, and so they've done a good job when it comes to that. We don't really see that in AEW. Like, you see pairings, like you see like the pairings Mickey Bane and Penelope Ford, but they weren't a tag team. You know what I mean? Like, it's not something like that. So I'm not really for it, but if it happens, it happens. I'm probably more for that than the first stupid set of titles that I heard. Like,
yeah. Chuck Berry says those titles have been perfect for the Atlantis gland. As long as all their matches for the titles was in Arena Mexico, I'm totally fine with that. I want to hear Atlantis and his son get booed every week.
Oh my god. You're going to have the fans be more angry in Mexico.
The Motor City Machine Guns are currently in WWE, but they could have ended up in AEW last year. Fightful Select reports that the tag team was in active discussions with All Elite Wrestling last year. There were plans for the team to have a big match at All In. Backstage discussions in AEW for All In 2024 had Alex Shelley and Chris Sabin against the Young Bucks at All In London, likely for the tag team titles. During the summer of 2024, negotiations halted between the team and AEW then correctly guessed that Sabin and Shelley were WWE bound. Instead, the Bucks would defend against FTR and the Acclaim. The Guns went on to sign with WWE, where they won the tag team titles a week after their debut. What have you thought about the Motor City Machine Guns run in WWE so far, and do you think they made the right decision?
It's pretty tough, just because like I think their run has been pretty mild, to be honest, to say the least. It's not like the worst, it's not like horrendous, but I don't think it's not the best, and it's not what people thought it probably would have been. Granted, they are older guys. These guys are, later stages of their careers. It's As far as their WWE run, like, has it been like great to me? No. I don't think it's been terrible, but I don't think it's been great. I don't think it's been what they probably imagine, a lot of fans. So it's one of those things where, I mean, they're making money. I'm happy for them on the personal level, but as far as their run, it's been kind of mid, to say the least. As far as them wanting to go to AEW, obviously that I don't know if that would be a better choice, because you put them in the Bucks in the match, great, but then what do they do after that? You know what I mean? So it's one of those things where it's like, give or take. Do I think they made the right decision? I think financially, I think they made the right decision for themselves to finally be in WWE, and if that's what they wanted to do as a free agent, you have every right to do that. But as far as their run, it's not as exciting as they made that signing out to be.
Yeah, I feel like WWE 9 times out of 10 will tell us they're your favorite tag team's favorite tag team, but they don't do enough to show that. I think they had a spectacular matchup in the TLC matchup with the Street Profits and DIY, but their tag team title run didn't really amount to anything. It was more about putting over DIY and turning them heel, facilitating their heel turn, more than it was about establishing them as the tag team. It was more about the moment than the title run itself. So
yeah,
we'll see. We'll see. Yeah, we're almost at the 1 year mark for them.
And then also, like, they won the tag titles, but then it's like they won it a week after the debuts, and it really didn't feel like it was like, it's cool they had the accolade, but then even the run itself, it was just like it was their second shortest run, like title run in any company. So it's like that's the very big downside of it. It's like they won the titles, they got it on their accolades, but it didn't mean much.
Yeah. Finishing up the converse with ROH Global Wars this week. This was probably the best episode of Ring of Honor in, I would say, all year. The show featured Bandito defeating Mascarita Dorada in a tremendous bout to retain the Ring of Honor World Title. That was from the CMLL versus AEW ROH show that we talked about last week. After the match, Konosuke Takeshita issued a challenge for Bandito for the Ring of Honor World Title at Supercard of Honor, which was made official later on in the show. Thunder Rosa and Persephone picked up a win over Red Velvet and Athena in a decent opener. Athena will now face Thunder Rosa for the Ring of Honor Women's World Title, which was made official for Supercard of Honor as well. Teton and Nick Wayne went to a 10-minute time limit draw in their Ring of Honor World Television title proving ground matchup, which means that Teton gets a future shot at the gold, while Blue Panther beat Lee Moriarty in a solid main event to earn a shot at the Ring of Honor Pure Championship at Supercard of Honor himself. Post-match, Shane Taylor Promotions jumped Panther until Bryan Danielson made his return to Ring of Honor, made an appearance in Arena Mexico with a group of babyface luchadors to make the save for his favorite wrestler ever, Blue Panther. Huge ovation for Bryan in Arena Mexico. A great moment, and probably the best thing that's ever happened on Ring of Honor television ever. So, thumbs up. I got to see Bryan in ROH. Always love to see it. And speaking of Arena Mexico, back-to-back weeks, we're going to be covering some stuff from CMLL as they had two big shows over the last week. Last Friday, you had Fantastica Mania Mexico. The show featured Bandito and Hologram beating Mystico and Mascarita Dorada in a fabulous elimination tag team main event. Post-match, Mystico issued a challenge for a singles match with Bandito after he pinned him in the tag match for the following week in Arena Mexico. More on that in a bit. Los Ingobernables de Japón made one final appearance as Titan, Hiromu Takahashi, and Shingo Takagi had one final run in the sunset together as they picked up a win over United Empire's TJP, Francisco Ariquera, and Templario in an awesome trios encounter. Ricochet defeated Volador Jr. in a great matchup as well. Neon picked up a win over Kevin Knight in a pretty fun lightning matchup, which is a 10-minute time limit. And Mercedes Moné beat La Catalina in another great matchup to retain the CMLL World Women's Championship. So Mercedes had back-to-back shows in Mexico and defending the CMLL World Women's Championship. Mercedes killing it in Mexico like she did at Grand Slam Mexico. And then this past Friday, you had Viernes Espectacular, which the show featured Mystico defeating Bandito in a spectacular main event that had some electrifying high flying action throughout, with both men really showing out in front of the sold out Arena Mexico crowd, with Mystico getting revenge on Bandito, making him tap out with La Mystica and showing respect to him post match. United Empire's TJP and Templario beat Los Hermanes Chavez in a good tag team matchup to retain the NJPW Strong Openweight Tag Team Championships. Mascarera Doradas team of Neon, Espinage, and Flip Gordon picked up a win over Los Templario Doros in a very fun, super fun 8-man tag team matchup as well. I've been enjoying the lucha of it all. I wish I had, someone from Josh's family to translate the commentary, but other than that, I'm having a good time. I'm having a good time with my lucha fix as of late, Josh.
Shit,
CMLL's got great action.
Yeah, I mean, I wish the same thing. Somebody could translate. I got Wendy. She could translate things. So, I mean, I'll be lucky with that. But I mean, they've been on a nice streak, and it seems like, because even before all that stuff that happened in WrestleMania weekend, they were having great shows, and it kind of feels like after that announcement, like what was going on, it sounds like, I don't want to say it lit a fire under their ass, but it just seems like they taking off like even more on all cylinders, to the point that even the fans are behind it 100%, because it's still pure lucha libre wrestling and it's still Mexican owned. So obviously those little things do help, but the fact that they've been on the hot streak, the way that they've been on, the business for them has been great. It's great to see, man. Like, it's really great, because I do think CMLL has always been like a premier company in general, any part of the world, and they've kind of been showing that. And the fact that they have the partnership with AEW has helped, like, having people be more familiar with them.
Yeah, they're just growing in popularity. Meltzer gave that tag team matchup from Fantastica to Mania between Mystico and Hologram versus Bandito and Hologram versus Mystico and Mascarera Dorada 5 stars. That was after he gave Bandito and Dorada 5 stars the week prior. So back-to-back 5-star matches. He's been very high on CMLL this whole year. They've been killing it. So I'm happy for them overall, because you want to see growth all around the world, and the fact that they're getting all this attention despite WWE going out and getting AAA. I think it's a big statement to their popularity and how hot they have become.
It's good. It's good overall for them, because I think there's something, like when WWE bought AAA, like, I knew it wasn't going to be as positive as people thought it would be, or people kind of like pretend to be. What you got to realize is that when you have a culture like Mexico, like Mexican culture, when it comes to trying to Americanize something that you guys have seen over the years, and whatever the case may be, obviously it rubs people the wrong way. And, they're kind of showing that in the statement. They're kind of showing that, like, no matter what, WWE, there's going to be WWE fans all over the world no matter what. But it's one of those things where it's like, this is home. This is what we represent. CMML is what Mexican wrestling represents. And I think they've done a great job represent, like, not only showing that, but they're making a statement by their actions. They're making a statement by their shows. And I think it's been really showing within their product.
Very much true. Definitely agree with that. And CMLL and AEW has spilled over into another promotion, as we're talking MLW for the first time in like forever on this show, as they had their Summer of the Beast show on Thursday that featured Matt Riddle beating Kenta to retain the MLW Heavyweight Championship. Donovan Dijak and Bishop Dyer, the former Baron Corbin, now known as the Skyscrapers, defeated Los Templarios Los Del Priadoras to win the MLW Tag Team Championships. You had Kushida, he picked up a win over Diego Hill, while you had Ultimo Guerrero, he successfully defended the MLW National Openweight Championship against Alexander Hammerstone and Matthew Justice. Shotzi Blackheart made her debut in the company for the first time as well. And the big news of the show, MJF made his return to Major League Wrestling in New York City in a sneak attack on Mystico to further their feud that intensified at AEW Grand Slam Mexico. This was a big shocker. There's like Sean Rotsap put on Twitter that it was the most shocking appearance that he's seen in a while in pro wrestling. I did not expect it. I thought AEW and CMLL and New Japan, that their partnership was separate than the partnership that New Japan and CMLL have with MLW, but apparently all the wrestling world is coming together outside of WWE right now.
No, and it was cool to see, just because like MLW, I've been critical on them more management wise, just because like I know certain things. But when people assume like, oh, maybe WWE gets involved with MLW, I was like, it's not going to happen. Why? Because they lost a lawsuit. Not lost, exactly. But they had to settle a lawsuit. So they're not going to work with the company they were forced to give money to. So that was not going to happen. But the fact that MJF, who was an MLW contracted original contracted wrestler and everything, the fact that he even showed up, and they're considering the storyline within another company. I thought that was like not only cool, but it was like, what the fuck? Like, so I guess like they mend fences, I guess. And it's cool to see. I think it's a good thing for MLW, just because like they have been doing well with their shows. A lot of people don't know, but they've been doing very well with their shows. Like whatever they've been doing has not only been working, but they have been bringing in business. So it's good for their brand. So the fact that you're getting AEW, while AEW has, their perception has gone up, I think it's a solid move all around.
Yeah, they very much use the partnership with CMLL. They have a lot of lucha. Mystico's been the welterweight champion over there. They built the company around Matt Riddle as the top babyface. Regardless of how you feel about Matt Riddle, he's very popular in MLW. They got guys like Donovan Dijak and Bishop Dyer this year. They got, and like I said, Hammerstone just came back as well. But getting like someone like MJF to even make an appearance, it's created more buzz for MLW because more people are talking about it, including us this week.
No, it's cool. And I think they find a way to continue it. I think it's only going to benefit them. So I think they kind of realize like maybe we do need like other promotions or like partnerships. And as long as you guys work together where nobody's stepping on each other's toes, AEW has been more willing to work with companies and still do like their thing. They're never in a situation where they're trying to take over, to say. So I think it's going to end up working out. Like, you just, again, as long as you guys work together and there's like a understanding of what's being run, who's running it that time, everything will be fine.
Yeah. One final promotion from this partnership we got to discuss this week. NJPW, they had a series of shows. NJPW Soul on Monday. The show featured Callum Newman picking up a win over Tai Chi in a very good main event to qualify for the A block of the G1 Climax 35 tournament. Meanwhile, Drilla Maloney defeated Tomohiro Ishii in an absolute banger to qualify for the B block of the G1 as well. Then on Tuesday, they had NJPW Death Pain Invitational, which was all about the main event that featured El Desperado defeating Jun Kasai in an absolutely wild, bloody, and insane death match, one of the bloodiest and wildest death matches I've ever seen in recent memory, which saw Despy retain the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Championship and share a kiss with his longtime rival. The love that they showed was just to go along with all the pain that they inflicted on one another. But then New Japan just threw a monkey wrench in the whole freaking week, as NJPW Tanahashi Jam this morning featured Zack Sabre Jr. shocking the world by defeating Hiroki Goto to become a two-time IWGP World Heavyweight Champion. The shock is throughout the wrestling world. Two-time IWGP World Heavyweight Champion. We mentioned it earlier. A lot of this has to do with New Japan Pro Wrestling, teaming up with AEW for Forbidden Door, which will take place in London, England. But this feels so unnecessary, and I feel like, I don't know. Right now I'm conflicted because I love Zack. I haven't thought that Zack's had the best year, and I didn't think, and business wasn't on the high that it was with Goto on top. I'm very conflicted on this move, but what's your overall thoughts on Zack winning the title this morning?
It's a little weird. It was kind of random just because I thought Goto would retain, but the fashion that it happened, the fact that it was only available in Japan, it's kind of I don't know. It's one of those things where it's if you're gonna take the belt of Goto, at least have better circumstances in the situation. It's just,
well, it makes sense. They had their most people watching because it was on TV Asani, which is one of their big networks in Japan.
I mean that alone that makes sense then, and then I kind of take that back. But you know what I mean? As a broader audience of hey, Americans want to watch it too. People overseas like yourself want to watch it too. But I don't know. Me personally, I don't think it was the right time. I think Goto should have kept the title at least until Wrestle Kingdom. Have build the G1 and then have that match off, have that blow off whoever he faces. Maybe he loses there. Because they usually do that. That's what they usually do with these title runs for New Japan. And the fact that they kind of gone away from that has been a little weird to see that in a sense, where it's you're not getting these long title reigns anymore. Well, in a while. I'm not going to say anymore, but we haven't seen that in a while. And I thought Goto would have been the right person for that because he's been doing so well. It's weird timing, and I do feel the same way because I'm I do like Zack. Zack is great. But I'm what's this? And we do we are in agreement that it's for Forbidden Door. It's one of those things where it's just you guys they're already doing well at the show. You
didn't need this. This doesn't add anything.
It didn't need to happen, and it was if that's your excuse, then it's to me it's not a really good one because I'm the show's already doing well, So I don't.
Good question here from Chuck Berries. He says, who do you guys see ZSJ facing at Forbidden Door? Right now, I'm going to say it's Konosuke Takeshita. I think Takeshita beats him in the G1 and he faces him at Forbidden Door. I know some people in the chat was mentioning Will Ospreay, which would also be a big matchup for them to do. It is kind of their custom, one of the biggest feuds in UK independent wrestling of the last decade, but I'd rather it be Takeshita.
I think
Takeshita have a big match.
Yeah, I think Takeshita makes the most sense because he's been associated with New Japan lately. Ospreay, since leaving New Japan, hasn't been associated with them. He hasn't really done shows for them. There's no ties to that. So that's why I kind of, me personally, I would stay away from Ospreay just because of that. He hasn't been back with New Japan. He hasn't done anything with them. Unless, because even Forbidden Door last year, he had the match with Swerve. So it wasn't he hasn't had a connection with New Japan for a while. And I don't think that this is kind of the right thing to do. I think you go with a guy who's under contract with New Japan. Takeshita has 2 contracts. So I think you go with that guy.
Yeah, I think it makes more sense for Takeshita because there's actually a chance Takeshita could win. With Will, it's just them having a good match for good match sakes because there's no shot that Will's going to win the title. So
yeah, so it's and and then Konosuke, obviously, you're not gonna say he's gonna win, but you never know. You never know because he has a contract with them.
Yeah, at least he has a contract at the end of the day. But we got some short news to talk about with NJPW, as New Japan Pro Wrestling has announced that Don Fale has been removed from the scheduled G1 Climax play-in matchup at Seoul on July 4th. He was replaced by Toshihiro Kojima. Kojima will now face Roye Uyawa for a spot in this year's G1. Fale was removed from the matchup after suffering a death in his family. So our thoughts and condolences to Don Fale, even though I was not looking forward to your match. I still, wish you the best. New Japan Pro Wrestling has announced that they have signed an Olympic gold medalist in Aaron Wolf. He signed a contract this week and will make his debut for the company at Wrestle Kingdom 20 on January 4th, 2026. Wolf said at the press conference, "I've just come from my last judo tournament and I've been very busy, but I'm happy to be here." As Tanahashi explained, "I approached NJPW with the idea to come into professional wrestling. Since I was a college student, I've always looked forward to seeing World Pro Wrestling and seeing how cool and aspirational these figures were. I realized this would be a new way to express myself outside of judo." Wolf won the gold medal at the 2020 Olympics, and he also has a gold medal from the 2017 World Judo Tournament in Budapest. In 2019, he became the first person from the U.S. to win the All Japan Judo Championship, so a huge signing for New Japan Pro Wrestling. And in my conversation with Kushida for Sports Illustrated, the takedown on SI, he confirmed that he is under contract with New Japan Pro Wrestling. He says, "Yes, I have a New Japan contract, just one, but New Japan and MLW have a good relationship, so New Japan send me to MLW right now, and I can wrestle all over the world. So if CMLL wanted me and New Japan accepted, I can go. New Japan send me to CMLL and MLW." So Kushida is officially with New Japan Pro Wrestling. I just wanted to confirm that in my interview with them. But the Aaron Wolf signing is the big deal, because this is going back to like New Japan roots, where they got real athletes and athletes with exceptional backgrounds into the company. I think it's a smart move by them.
Yeah, and I know they made it like a real big deal. Like I know it was a big deal online, and people were just like, really big on it. So I mean, it's a good buzz for them, and I think if this is what he wants to do, I think it's a good route to go to New Japan, because they already have that kind of like, obviously they have the strong style, but they do have like good wrestling. So I think it benefits him, and he could learn that system as well. So good move overall. I think good move for the guy himself, and good move for the company.
Word. Agreed there. TNA final stop on what we missed. TNA Impact this week. The show featured Mustafa Ali beating John Skyler in a call to arms matchup. Post-match, Ali attacked Skyler and Jason Hodge before Tasha Steelz stepped in front of a steel chair shot until she was basically saved by Cedric Alexander, making his TNA debut, making the save for Tasha Steelz and the great hands, and standing side by side against Ali. Ash by Elegance won the number one contenders battle royal to get a shot at the TNA Knockouts World Championship. Post-match, the champion Masha Slamovich came out to stare down with Ash, as well as TNA NXT's women's champion JC Jane showing up on the show as well. You also had Joe Hendry. He kicked off the show, staking his claim for the TNA World Championship, saying that he will challenge Trick Williams at Slammiversary. Zachary Wentz picked up a win over Ryan Nemeth, while the Hardys beat Northern Armory, which sets up the Nemeths to defend the TNA World Tag Team titles in a four-way ladder match against the Hardys, the Rascals, and First Class at Slammiversary. Finally, Mike Santana defeated AJ Francis in a very fun street fight main event. Post-match, Santana, he staked his claim for the TNA World title at Slammiversary for a three-way matchup with Hendry and Trick. And finally, the final bit of news, you had Steve Maclin. His contract with TNA is up at the end of the year, according to a new report. Fightful Select reports that TNA International Champion's current contract runs out until December of 2025. The report goes on to note that this will be another big contract year in December for the company, with a number of other deals that are also up, including Joe Hendry and Mike Santana. Maclin last competed on the June 7th edition of Impact in the Champions versus Challengers, a 10-man tag team matchup. So we shall see where Mike Maclin will head next. So interesting year coming up for TNA. We shall see how everything turns out for them. But we've made it through what we missed this week. It is time for Chrissy Love's favorite time of the show, best and worst of the week, Josh, moment of the week, and matches of the week. Who is your best and worst from this week, Josh?
Best of the week. I'm gonna go with trying to think. Best of the week. I'll go with CMML. Momentum, great shows, great matches. That even that Mystico and the Bandito stuff was great too. So I'll give it to them. Worst of the week, Bill Brooks, CM Punk.
See, we're kind of on the same page on both. I gave best of the week to Mystico because he's been all over the place, because he was on that MLW show as well, and he had the interaction with MJF, and then he killed it in CMLL this week, so I gave it to Mystico. And he's got low-key rumors of WWE interest in him, so he had a big week, best week for him. And yes, CM Punk's apology is what I gave worst of the week to. Moment of the week, it's got to go for me to MJF return in MLW.
It's actually the same for me. MJF going to MLW, and then possibly things could happen between the companies.
Yeah. And then matches of the week, I once again I made myself only go with 10, Josh. I only got 10 this week. Honorable mentions, though, we got LIJ versus United Empire from Fantastica Mania, Mexico. Ricochet versus Volador Jr. from Fantastica Mania, and Mercedes versus Catalina. Number 10, though, Drilla Maloney versus Tomohiro Ishii from New Japan Soul. The Team Sky team, the Sky Team versus Los Dendoras from CMLL's Espectacular on Friday. Lucha Cousins versus DIY from SmackDown is number 8. Number 7, the Battle of the Kyles from Collision. Number 6, Cody versus Jay from Monday Night Raw. Number 5, Mark Briscoe, Roderick Strong, Bandito, and Konosuke Takeshita from Dynamite. Number 4, Bandito and Hologram versus the Sky Team from Fantastica Mania, Mexico. Number 3, El Desperado versus Jun Kasai from Death Pain Invitational. Number 2, Mystico versus Bandito from CMLL on Friday. And number 1, because I did not give it the proper love it deserved, because this is my first 5-star matchup that I've given since Double or Nothing, I believe. Saray versus Shuri from last week's Stardom The Conversion. That is one of the best matches of the year, one of the best women's matches of the year. I've given like 3 or 4 women's matches 5 stars already this year, but Saray and Shuri, go out of your way to watch it. I gave it number 2 last week, but that wasn't enough love for it. It deserved to be number 1, so I gave it number 1 for this week. Josh, your matches of the week.
My matches of the week. Number 3, I'm gonna go with Cody versus Jay. Like I said, that was a really good matchup. Number 2, I'm gonna go with the tag team match from CMML, the one that Dave gave 5 stars to. And number 1, Bandito versus Mystico, just because of the atmosphere for that shit was crazy too. I was like, damn, like that was insane. Yeah, that was insane, and it will end up being a great match as well. So
they love Mystico out there. It's crazy. It is crazy. It's insane. But yes, that is definitely some good matches right there. But we've made it to the end of another edition of our flagship podcast. Gotta appreciate all of y'all for showing some love in the chat today and showing up for us on a special Sunday edition of the flagship. We'll be back on Saturday next week. I believe maybe an early start time the next 2 weeks for our Saturday edition, especially 2 weeks time, July 12th, where Top Guy JJ will be back with us. We'll be starting that show at 10:05 a.m. Eastern time on Saturday, but we'll be back on Saturday this coming week, so join us live for that as well. And of course, you got all the goodness from Tru Heel Heat Rated Raw review on Tuesday. We got our AE Ramble on Thursday, and we'll have a special edition of our Okada Omega series that is up on Patreon right now for our Patreon backers at patreon.com/Tru Heel Heat. You can get to see the first episode with me and Jimmy Macaram watching Okada versus Omega 1. That's going to be on the channel for all subscribers this week. So join us for that as well. But Josh, let everybody know where they can follow you on social media and when they shall see you again.
You can follow me at JMPunk321, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. I have a channel and it's been doing great. Over 400 subscribers, so I've been happy with that.
Nice.
Looking to build up more on that too. I'm gonna start doing some research and hopefully do some vlogs as well. So catch me on those platforms, and then also I'll be back next Saturday for THH. So look forward to that. Hopefully some crazy shit happens this week that we could talk about.
Absolutely. It's always crazy in pro wrestling, so we'll surely have to talk about something. Follow me on the Twitter machine at Tru Heel Heat. And of course, join us, like I said before, Tuesday we'll be live once again with Rated Raw Review reviewing the post Night of Champions Monday Night Raw. But go out of your way to watch all the great content we got on the channel right now, like our WWE Night of Champions 2025 review from yesterday with Romeo and special guest Rob Wilkins. And of course, like I said before, we'll have our special Okada and Omega episode 1, me and Jimmy rewatching that matchup on the channel this coming week. So stay tuned for that as well. Before the True Josh, it is me, your Tru Heel Phenom SP3. This has been Tru Heel Heat 335. Sorry for 2025. We are signing off until next time.
Sorry. That was good.